Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, Township Council Special Meeting, May 14th, 2015. Meeting called to order by myself at 6:03 p.m. Please rise for the flag salute. Mr. Peluso, if you would.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Here.
Mr. Peluso.
present.
Mr. Stanton.
Here.
Mr. Valori.
Here.
Mr. DePiero, I guess, is on his way.
Yeah, he's at the field dedication.
Others present, L&M Sandman, Business Administrator, Yancey Reserves, Township Clerk, Ann Cucci, CFO, and Ann Guinea. Left you off the agenda. The agenda of this meeting, to the extent known, is as follows: review and discussion of the Mayor's 2015 budget recommendations. Formal action may or may not be taken.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Law by filing the notice in the office of the Township Clerk and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin board at the Municipal Building on April 16, 2015, where it has remained posted since that date. Copies of this notice appeared in the Daily Record on April 20, 2015, and were faxed to the Star Ledger and various other newspapers and local radio stations on April 17, 2015.
Okay. First on the agenda, we'll have the Free Public Library, Division 470. Mrs. Boleen.
With me tonight is my board president, Dr. Joseph Weisler, and board treasurer,
It's not on. Give it a minute.
Just tap it a couple times. It should.
Yeah, it needs a second to warm up.
Just takes a second for it to register.
But you have to talk directly into it. Tap it. Tap the top of it.
No, just tap the top of it now.
No.
About one of these.
You can hear it. Now?
No, that was.
That's me. Yeah, I'm trying to get a
Don't confuse
little.
us.
Maybe there's a reaction there. There it goes. See? Yes.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay, due to technical difficulties, we're now starting, okay?
Yes.
Now?
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. As you could see in the documents in front of you, we have, the library is asking for the state mandated 1/3 of a mil, $2,830,040, and the council grant of $39,000 for Sunday hours. Okay, that's out of operating. The capital expenditures, we're looking at renovations to the Lake Hiawatha branch of $1.5 million. And the space plan for the Parsippany Main Library of $16,200. So I'm just going to discuss the extra expenses and our rationale for those requests, for the budget requests. The Sunday hours, when we conducted our library strategic plan, the residents asked that the main library continue to be open on Sundays. And as you can imagine, Sunday hours are really popular with our population because a lot of families come and visit the library, and they have kids in soccer and other sports, usually on Saturday, so Sunday is really family day. They can't get to the library, many of them, any other day but Sunday. So these funds, the $39,000, provide the library with the ability to staff 38 Sundays from September through mid-June, including Sundays that precede a Monday holiday. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. The renovation of the Lake Hiawatha branch, I don't know if any of you have visited the Lake Hiawatha branch library lately, but you know that it is a neighborhood branch. We pride ourselves here in Parsippany with having 3 branches, 3 library locations, which is admirable, but we really need to keep up the buildings. And Hiawatha was last renovated in 1994. So it's 21 years old. It looks like it's 80, I think.
Yeah.
And it's, people can walk to this branch, and last year 123,316 people visited that branch library. A true neighborhood branch, it's recognized for its outstanding family programs, particularly sensory story time for kids with special needs, and the Making Connections program, which is a monthly gathering for new residents, often people who are new to this country, who are just learning all the things that they can do with their children here in Parsippany, and things that are expected of them by the rest of the community. When the Lake Hiawatha branch was renovated in 1994, it cost $300,000. And as you can imagine, that didn't get us a lot. We had a low bid contractor. The money was taken out of the library's budget, and we had another $100,000 that was provided by from the township for furnishings. So in 2010, 5 years ago, the library board commissioned an architect to conduct a feasibility study for the branch. The improvements identified in this study include replacement of the windows, door, and roof, remediation of exterior water flow, replacement of tile and carpeting, and retrofitting of handrails on the interior and exterior stairways so that they're ADA accessible. Installation of wiring and cable management for PCs, because in 21 years technology has gone through dramatic changes. Enhancement of exterior and interior lighting and furniture to accommodate current technology and library functions. In your packet, you'll see that the estimate for these improvements back in 2010 was $560,000. That cost did not include the cost of furniture, which is estimated at $20 a square foot for approximately $198,000. Additionally, and if architecturally feasible, we'd also like to enlarge the meeting room in the Lake Hiawatha branch in order to enhance the programming efforts at the branch. It's been 5 years now since this estimate was presented to the library board. So we're unsure about increases in the projected cost. We're not sure about the architectural and project management fees. But once we're given the okay, we'd proceed with the project and with Mike Hardy's assistance, assemble and issue an RFP for architectural and project management services. So finally, the next thing we're asking for is a space plan for our main library, Parsippany. We're asking for $16,200 to pay for the cost of an architect or consultant to come in and give us advice on how we can reconfigure the spaces in the main library. Believe it or not, we're there 9 years now. And library functions have changed quite a bit in 9 years. The library is being used more for maker spaces, which are areas that people can come and create things using materials that we were given, equipment and materials, as part of a grant from the state library. So we need more space for that. We still, even though we have 2 large meeting rooms and two group study rooms, we're using one for makerspace. We have tutorial rooms and a tech lab. People are still looking for other space. We have people who come in and they actually study or operate their own business out of our library. Like they're using their computer because they're entrepreneurs who are home all day and they just want to get out of the house to use their computer and be with other people. So they use our library for that purpose. We also have people looking for jobs. If you're without a job for any length of time, you're lonely and you too want to get out of the house. So they come to the library for assistance with resumes. We have a North Jersey group that gives people some advice on how and where to apply for jobs. They meet every Wednesday in the library. So those are some of the uses of the library now. Things have really changed in the last 9 years. So the other thing we're looking for is, when we did our strategic plan, people were looking for language learning labs for kids, creating space for this maker culture where our residents can experiment with photography, scrapbooking, film creation, music, and intergenerational projects, such as creating oral histories and using the equipment purchased through the grant, as I said earlier, and rearranging space to allow for technology and for groups to gather together. And we came up with that 16,200 figure because that was the lowest of the 3 estimates we received from library consultants. So that's my pitch. But I think if I say this, you will all agree with me. The libraries in town are a real tribute to the township of Parsippany, and it's a great reflection on council. And through the years, and we all know how many years I've been here, because February 24th was Jane Beeline Day. But I know, so every year we'll celebrate. But through those years, council has always been supportive of the library, and it's really to their credit. So I think these are great expenditures. As a Parsippany resident and as your library director, I think this is a great way to spend your money. Just feel free to jump in here. Okay.
You're on a
Any
roll,
questions?
Jane. That's excellent. I came in, I'm sorry I missed the beginning of the portion.
That's okay. I know you had another commitment.
Yes.
Say, if I might add, because I literally live in one library or another. It's just part of my makeup. But Jane's point is well taken. If you were to come to the main library on a Sunday, for example, what you would see is not kids being dropped off by their parents. You would see the kids and their parents in the library doing their thing. It's a community day, and it's absolutely amazing. The same is true on Saturday, but the point is, that extra day, that Sunday, is very, very important, and not such a slight hint, as Jane said. It's a reflection on everybody, and it's a good reflection. It really is. We have a great library system, but those weekend hours are important. The Lake Hiawatha Library really needs upgrading. There's a building that was donated to the town, was it 1940? 69. The other building was 1945. I mean, it has not been a major expenditure, let's put it that way, and it's small. That part of town deserves a better deal, to put it bluntly.
All right, and in your packet, you'll see that I gave you some quick facts about the Lake Hiawatha Branch Library and a summary of the building analysis and the budget that I was talking about. And then on the left is the main library space study and what we had in mind there. So thank you. Any questions?
Jane, I just want to say over the years you've done a terrific job, and you continue to do a nice job as well. So thank you for working with our community and giving us good feedback. The question I have concerning the Lake Hiawatha Library is, back in 2010, it was approximately $560,000. Now the renovations went up to about $1.5 million. I know cost of living and I know cost of building materials have increased substantially. Is there any additions to that that was made in order to increase that?
Yes, that didn't include furniture, and it didn't include architectural or project manager fees. So that is why we're estimating the $1.5 million.
Did it include parking? Because I like to see more parking.
No, it didn't. I'm not sure what will happen when we put it out to bid, but I agree with you. Over the years, the board's looked at some of the housing
Houses, yeah.
in the area, but it was never feasible to purchase those houses. And we share that parking lot. It's really a town-owned lot.
Fortunate, yeah.
And we share it with everybody, Angelo's and the shops on Beverwick. So it's, but there is some on-street parking, so that works. It's something to look at. We can certainly look at it, but I don't think anyone in that area is selling right now.
And on a good note, we're fortunate that's really in that community area because a lot of folks walk
That's
the
right,
library.
right.
Which
And
is
there
nice.
is another public parking lot on Beverwick that people can
Yeah.
park and walk from.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jane. Also, just to note, last week, we were conducting our audit, and I asked for a hard copy to be placed on file at the library.
Oh,
I've known
good.
for many years, you've always maintained a record of all of our audits.
Yes.
So you should be receiving that book from our administration, but thank you for housing our records at the same time.
Okay, sure. We're happy to do that.
Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Okay?
I just wanted to make the observation, I started to do it before, that when Parsippany is ranked number 1 in New Jersey on several occasions now, that the library system and its services is one of the factors that are considered.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thanks for coming out this evening. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
High standards.
Oh, yeah, we have it.
Take care, guys.
Okay, Jane,
Hold on one
Jane,
second
don't,
before you head
Jane,
out.
Jane,
No.
Jane, just don't go anywhere in case the public has any questions for you to answer, okay? Okay, at this time, entertain a motion to open up the public hearing on the library.
Make a motion.
Motion made by Mr. Stanton.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Paluso. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, he's not getting up.
No, okay. Okay, see no one step forward. Entertain a motion to close the public hearing on the library.
Make a motion.
Motion made by Mr. Stanton, seconded by Mr. Paluso. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you. Have a good night. Take care.
We are doing that. Okay.
Okay, next on the agenda will be the First Aid Organizations, Division Number 460.
Okay.
It should be on. Did they shut it off?
Ellen, do you have them in the budget to replace them?
I think we just did.
What,
That one's working. Oh, yeah.
okay, it's working? Okay, what Ann is handing out is the backup that, some of the backup that you guys had presented to us. It is in the budget, a capital budget as a number, but you'll explain, okay? Just wanted to let you know that that's what's handing out.
Good.
What we're looking to do is take one of our older ambulances. That's a 2006.
The mic again.
Yeah, just hold it up to you. There you go.
Okay, can you hear me? Lee?
Yeah.
Okay. What we're looking to do is take our 2006 ambulance. It's called remounting. Take the box off, put it on a new cabin chassis. And then what they do is they will replace all the older style lights and put all more safer and brighter LED lights on it. Go in the inside and totally renovate the inside. The cost is probably half the cost of a new ambulance. It's probably around 80 to 90,000, depends on how much work they have to do to it. But typically, it's around $80,000 to remount an ambulance. What I'm looking to do is looking for 2 vehicles. The one would be the ambulance at about 80,000, and looking for it's more of a it's hard to explain. I got a picture of something that looks close to it, so I'll hand them out so you guys know what I'm talking about.
Thank you, Mark. Oh, I see you doing.
I'll explain to you.
Thanks.
Thank you. You want to get extra?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So before I go on to the second truck, any questions with the ambulance? The ambulance has, it has around 80,000 miles on it. There's over 15,000 engine hours on it also. And right now it's out for repairs because the air conditioner's not working on it. So it's starting to feel its age and wear and tear. So that's why we're looking to replace that one. And it's coming up to 9 years old. So the vehicle you see in front of you is kind of like a unique vehicle, just like our town. If you look at the terrain of our town, we can go from flat, where it gets flooded, or you go west, where we have mountains, and when there's snow, we can't get up there. One of the blizzards, we had a problem with our ambulance. It got stuck in the snow, and we have a 2009 Durango, and it just wasn't heavy enough to pull it out of the snow. So that's what we're looking for this. This will be mounted on an F-250, F-350 four-wheel drive. May not be the Ford series, but just so people can understand what it's going to be mounted on. And it was good. We were looking to do a quad cab so we can carry 4 members. This is the best picture. It's not going to look exactly like this, where it says Iron County Sheriff above the 2 white lights. There'll be additional compartments there. What we're looking to do is be able to put extra backboards, maybe 4 to 6 extra backboards. So if there is a bigger scene, we have extra equipment with us. And on the opposite side, we're looking to put a pop-up canopy. So if we do have a big scene, we have some place for the patients can wait under from the sun,
The canopy. Yeah.
from the snow or rain. We don't really have that right now in any of the ambulance squads or rescue recovery. So we're looking to have this more of a multi-purpose vehicle. And also, if you look at the back, we're looking to be able to mount a stretcher in there. So if we have to take somebody out of Mount Tabor in the snow, somebody from High Ridge, or this will be high enough to be able to go through 1 to 2 feet of water. To get you out of your house if there's a flood, you're either going to go by boat or you're going to go in the back of a dump truck. You know, for the most part. Now, the last flood, that's what they were using was dump truck. The only thing we had. So an ambulance, you really can't go through deep water because most of the battery compartments are only about a foot off the ground. This, the battery compartment's in the engine compartment. The only problem would be the exhaust pipe, but we would have a snorkel, more or less, available to it. So we can go up to the door, which is probably got close to 2 feet. We're going to get wet getting you out, but you're going to be put in the back of a dry vehicle, so you can be driven off the mountain or over a bunch of branches if we have like the hurricane when the people up in Long Ridge and High Ridge was kind of stranded up there. This vehicle would help us, and that's what we're looking to purchase. It'll be it'll be used throughout the whole town. It's not going to be our vehicle. I'm just the only one that thought of it. But this is what, we have a unique town, unique situations, and we kind of need a unique vehicle to handle our situations.
You had said this vehicle is going to be 4-wheel drive. It'll
Yes.
be able to get through snow and stuff like that. You said you had a problem getting to someone that, people that are,
We had gotten stuck in the snow with the ambulance. They're called automatic chains on our ambulances. When they drive, best way to describe it, remember the little generator thing on your tire, the headlight, and it rolled on your wheel? This is the same thing. The chains come down, it runs alongside the tires, and the chains spin underneath the tires, and that just wasn't working. Our 2009 Durango, it's a small truck. It's not heavy enough. It wasn't heavy. We're able to eventually get it out, but it took a while to get the ambulance.
but you'd be able to
under.
transport somebody in
This we'll be able to transport. That's one of the main reasons why we're looking to either move them to the awaiting ambulance. In that case, it would be to the next ambulance that would be coming. It's not, we're not looking to transport to the hospital, but, in a disaster situation, we could.
Or get somebody off a mountain.
Get
or
somebody off
hilly
the
roads.
mountain.
Yep.
Even up in the new Central Park. There's a lot of dirt roads that are, off the main road now up there. Powder, the park off of Mountain Way Park, there's a lot of terrain up there now. So it'd be a multi-use vehicle as we carry extra equipment. We're also looking to, if it's possible, to put radios in the back. So when we're on a scene, it could be used more as a command post. We're looking to be able to put oxygen on it. Excuse me. Anybody remember the chlorine leak at Zimmer?
Yes.
Yes.
We had a lot of people there.
Need some water.
Got one of your mints?
We needed a lot of people needed to be on oxygen. And if we used our ambulance, the ambulance is tied up now. We can't, like, oh, I'm sorry, we got to transport somebody to the hospital. You can't have oxygen. Well, this vehicle had the oxygen, and we would put on, we call Christmas trees. Because they look like Christmas trees, which you hook up your oxygen to. We're able to put 4 to 6 people, and they can sit underneath the canopy, waiting to be transported, or just to get the oxygen back into their bloodstream.
So basically, this vehicles could be used for almost anything.
Anything. Anything that's going to happen in this town. You know, I know, like, you know, we have special rescue trucks. We have ambulances, we have fire trucks, but this is kind of like fills the gap in between all those emergency vehicles that we have.
Mark, could you get a vehicle that's similar to this with a higher chassis so you have more than a 2-foot clearance?
We can look into the 450s and 550s, which would be a little higher.
Be higher for you, right?
But I'm looking at what the cost would be too. I don't know how much more.
This is a 350?
It'd be like an F-250, 350 style.
Right.
4-wheel drive. And also, it is an idea that I had thought of to save some money. You know, typically you go to a company that builds ambulances and rescue trucks, and you say, "This is what I want," and thank you. And part of the price of it is that they go out to a dealer and purchase the cab and chassis. I haven't spoken to Mike Hardy about this, but my thought was if we bought the cab and chassis now and have it delivered, going under state bid, you save money. And I haven't spoke to him yet because I didn't know if we were going to get approved. I didn't want him to use up his time looking up something that may not happen. But if we could do something like that, we can save money on these vehicles. And that would, you know, would help bring the price down on them too. Oh, you can have that. Got extras. It's not. Okay. That's pretty much. Is there any questions? Any other?
Any questions?
No.
Just kind of like, just, you know, help fill in that void that we're missing with all the emergency vehicles that we actually have.
Just a quick question, because I know it's basically a multi-purpose vehicle. Does this have a hoist on the front there, the cable?
We could, that was one of the thoughts, was to put a winch on it also.
In case you get stuck, you could
Well, yeah,
push
you can
yourself
winch
out.
yourselves out.
Okay.
And it has towing capacity as well?
Yeah, well, it's going to be pretty much on a pickup truck chassis,
Right.
and that's how they build them.
You'll put the tow package on it?
Yeah, we'll have
Okay, good.
well, under state bid, they, I think they're all tow package, but
Good.
we would have it because it gives you the extra transmission cooler,
Right.
and there's a few other things that come along with the tow package.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice forward thinking, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, at this time, I entertain a motion to open up the public hearing.
Make motion.
Motion made by Mr. Paluso, seconded by Mr. Valori. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Appetizer 182 Hawkins Avenue. Just on the funding,
Oh, okay.
57,000 that was budgeted in 2014, not used in 2014, and now we're requesting 60,000. Where'd that 57,000 go? Done.
It's in reserve at this point. I'm waiting to see what else we're going to spend, because at this time that this was done, the money hadn't been spent at that point.
So it's in the account.
Yes, oh, yes, yes, correct.
And I don't, people don't.
Thank you.
Okay. use this one.
Okay. Right, okay. Before we close the public portion, we're going to have Bob Heinzerling. Come on up. Hey, how you doing?
Hi, Bob.
Yeah.
Does it work?
Okay.
I'm here because I put money. Can this work? Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I asked for money to fund a new first responder and some defibrillators. Put the letter in a long time ago. Hopefully that would get into the budget. If you had any questions about it, because we're replacing our 2000 first responder. And the money I put in was from an estimate that we had gotten from a company out in Roxbury. Oh, that's what I gave you. So I'm just here if you have questions about it.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. Pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
No questions? Thank you for the good work you do.
We need a new ambulance. We have a 1999 that.
As I say, the ambulance is old, I know.
It's going to be a little bit more expensive than the ones that we've had because we just found out that the stretchers have to be crash-worthy in the ambulance.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is this,
We just
Ellen,
had
is this in
Stryker
the
come in
Capitol?
this week, and they
Yes.
showed us the new.
It's in the,
new ones.
and it's, where is this
No,
in
I
the
know the
capital?
10,000 for the defibrillators, but what about
Yeah, the other is,
and the other is in the capital.
yeah, OE, one's in OE and one's in capital.
Yeah.
I had a question with regard to the defibrillators. How many do we have now, and how do you like
Okay.
with the life
Okay.
expectancy and?
Our defibrillators
Yes.
are at end of life.
I got you. Okay.
Yes, and we were told that we can't get them upgraded anymore, so we'd have to get some new ones.
I mean, as you see in the news just recently, that young man that got hit in the chest, and thank God for the defibrillator. So they've really, earned their need there throughout the community. So
We have 4 ambulances and a first responder, so that's
great. That's why 5. Yeah.
So you said the ambulance was from 1999?
The one we're going to replace next year will be the
Yeah, I think you're-
1999. The one we're going to replace next year, which I'll put in the fall for next year's budget.
Wow, so you kept it around that long.
Well, we take care of our ambulances.
Nice job.
Great, yeah.
It's an expensive one. It's 4-wheel drive. We have 2 of those, and we use those primarily in the winter.
Okay.
And I don't think we've gotten stuck with any of them yet.
Okay,
I've
great.
tried.
Doing a great job, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, yes, on purpose. I tried once to get it stuck. I went through a snowdrift about this high, and I got right through.
That's good.
Great.
I know, these microphones are
Right.
If I have a little left over, I'll.
Thank you, Bob. Keep up
Okay.
the good work.
Thank you. Okay, see no one else come up from the public. Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Make motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Valori,
Nice seeing
seconded
you
by
again.
Mr. Paluso. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you again. Yeah.
I got my smart one here.
And we've been waiting for you.
I know you have. What's that mean? My little finance book?
That's it.
Okay.
Okay, next we'll be moving on to Department of Finance.
The best department. No. Okay. Of course, I'll just talk a little bit about finance. Just getting here in September, we did the best we could. We were able to do the 2 audits in record time. But as you know, Ray Serenelli did talk to you about the positions that are desperately needed in our department. So what I thought I would talk about is how I'd like to restructure finance a bit. We do in all 3 departments. I have the treasury, the assessor, and the collection. As you know, our collecting is amazing, 99.35 or whatever, and we thought, if I put it all together, I'm going to restructure it a bit. In the Treasury, in my group, we have actually only got 3 people, and we're working actually 3.5. And they have all just gotten there less than a year ago. It's all 3 of us, so we're all pretty new. We did have, thank goodness, Ruby coming in, and I had some consultants coming in to help. In the assessing group, we have, I'm talking about the number of people because I think that's key to my group. We have 3.5, there's a half a person. He goes between the two departments, between assessor and treasury. But we've discovered that we really need another assessor in there, okay? And he's going to be very busy with all the good stuff that's going on in Parsippany, all the building and things. So that's where we're going to put him right back into, he's an assistant assessor. And then in the tax collection, last year we had 9.5 people. I love the half a person, right? And this year I'm bringing that down to 8. So we're going to hire in the treasury and not rehire the people and not replace the people in the collection. So the net effect is basically a half a person. I know it looks big, you know, if you look at finance, but it is a net effect of about a half a person. I don't know how you do a half a person, but that's what we're pretty much looking at in the treasury side. Hoping to do that very soon. Some of the highlights, we do have some increase in the payroll. When I first came, we did in-house filing of the taxes of the 941 and the W-2s and all that. And quite frankly, that's not our expertise. That's the payroll company's expertise. By giving it, and you all approved it, by giving them the responsibility of that, obviously, they take the responsibility if there's anything late. When we were doing it, we took the responsibility. And with all the changes of personnel, we had a lot of issues with the 941. So you're going to see some increase in that particular line item. There's also some additional monies needed for the Obamacare monitoring. It's a lot of work. We have to watch for people not going over the 30 hours in the whole township. And except for, of course, we have our seasonal. So they're monitoring that for us. If we do go over, we have to make sure and check that they have medical. It could pose a problem. So we've asked Paychecks to watch it. That's what they do. So that's that part. There's no real change in the assessor budget. It's pretty much stayed the same. In the tax collection, we have a little bit of an increase in the admin software maintenance. And I think that highlights my little group there. Yeah, oh yeah. The Edmonds project is underway. It's a huge project. We've had, once this is all done, that's what we'll be concentrating on. We're starting with the revenue side. We already have the whole revenue set up because we do the billing. And now we'll get the reporting, the revenue journals to you. You'll be able to see the budget and where we are. That's our first step. And then we'll go to the purchasing side. That'll be what we're going to concentrate. The minute this is done, that'll be where we're going to be. Plus, I'm looking forward to that more than you can imagine. So that's where we stand with Edmonds, okay? The other thing I thought I mentioned in my group is the annual audit is in the finance budget, but also in other places. So we did not increase that budget at all. It's still 116.5. The contracted amount for 2014 was 113.8. So we've left that pretty much the same. There is no capital expenditures this year in finance. We've gotten all the computers we need. We were able to get the one. There was a $10,000 printer, I believe, last year. It was not necessary, so we put it right back into some computers. I think that's about it in the finance. Any questions in the finance, the best department? Here.
Council President, one of the things I asked Ann to do, and the reason why we changed the schedule of her presenting, is if she could take the opportunity. I know she did speak to the finance group about the allocations. I thought perhaps before we get into the departments where we allocate funding to, that Ann could just go briefly over it. We gave you the bullet points from the finance meeting, which the last document, the last bullet talks about, or the next to last bullet talks about the breakdown. So if you want to talk a little bit about that, and then the other.
Talk about the debt.
Yeah, of course, but talk
First
about
or no?
yeah,
Okay.
whatever is more, whatever you think flows.
Okay.
Okay.
From my side, I think maybe we'll talk about the debt, if there's any questions on the debt service at all. Basically, in the budget is the required payments, and what you'll see in the current budget is for the capital, the current capital, and then you'll see in each of the utilities their required debt payments. Included in there is all the bond payments, the interest, and the payment of the interest on your bond anticipation notes, because they are not permanent financing. As you know, when we go to do our ordinances, we'll be renewing those notes. The good news about our debt, I'll just mention, is that we're at 0.868% as equalized value, which is extremely low. That means our debt is in great shape. It can't go above 3%, so we're at 0.8. Oh, one other thing I just want to mention about finance is that we're looking to, and I know we're not talking about this today, but some of the things we're doing is looking at several banking opportunities for interest income on our money, so we are also looking at that. I'm going to defer it. Any questions on your debt service? It's really pretty cut and dry, I think. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, you want to talk? Okay. Let me get that over here. Oh, okay. Yeah. And I'll speak about the sewer debt service in particular, which is the highest at this point. We're going to, knowing the health, it's extremely healthy, your sewer utility. We're going to re-examine that and really look to pay down some of that debt and bond anticipation notes before they renew. And we're also going to, on all the utilities, look at the capital and see what ordinances are finished, which ones are, Ellen and I are going to be doing that very soon, and which the money that we can take and perhaps use in capital improvement fund. Really review the capital. We haven't had a chance to do that, but that'll be coming down as well. Down the pike, actually.
And what's the debt at the sewer right now?
I had a feeling you were going to ask that.
While she's looking for that, one of the things I just want to be clear as to what Ann was just referring to. It seems to be not problematic, but it seems to be all municipalities, and I've only been in a few, 4 to be exact. When I do go in, I often, because I have such a love of the capital finance, I go in to take a look in both current capital, your sewer capital, your water capital, and the golf capital, and take a look at things have been done and have been fully funded, not an authorization to spend, which would just be your notes, but fully funded. Bonds have been paid for, the job has been done, and you will find that there is an excess of dollars, and that's one of the things we talked at the finance meeting. We feel that going forward, right off the bat, we'll be able to fund the down payment, the hard cash down payment for the capital in the golf, and then that what Ann was referring to with regard to both sewer and water. There are bond proceeds, we know there. We just have not had the opportunity to dig down because you have to verify that it's a true, that the money was sold, that it's bonded, not, you know, an authorization to spend. And you'll be, I think, very pleased with that result, and we'll be spelling that out and for making sure that we're very clear as to where the funding is going. It will go right back into the utility that's for it, but it's something that sometimes gets overlooked by either business administrators and finance officers that find themselves so preoccupied, but it's something that needs to be addressed. I've worked with the auditors that we have here in Denville for 21 years and also in Mendham for 7, and they are very instrumental in working with us to make sure that the monies that we say are now available for other projects are there. So we're looking forward to that.
And how long would it take us to get an answer on that? How long would it take?
Once we start to go into it, we're talking about within a week we would know.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Okay, it's in between the few other things that we do.
No,
That it
a
was,
few.
but it would. I'm serious. Once you dig into it, it's rather quickly because you go back to the audit reports, you verify, and then you bring in the outside auditors just to say this looks like we're golden here. So that's how we do it. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, well, I'll just take it right off the annual debt statement, which is total debt. It includes the bonds and the notes, okay? According to and I'll use the annual debt statement, it's $45 million. Okay, and according to me, I have the debt schedule here. 20 million is permanent and 13,700,000 is the bond anticipation notes that we sold last year that we're paying 0.18%. Yeah, nothing. We're paying nothing for that money at this point, but that's what's in the sewer.
And that's the other thing we'll be analyzing too, is that when is the tipping point to go to permanent financing? Because right now, for years, going into the temporary financing, which is selling notes, they're paying us to give us money to take our debt. But we have to be very cautious because the pendulum, it's been over almost 10 years, 8 or 9 years that these interest rates have been very low. They're going to start to go up with the way the economy is going, the market out there. So we want to make sure we have a very good meeting, dovetailing it into what we were just talking about, bond proceeds, and having a conversation with with our auditors and our finance people to say when is the time you want to go out for permanent financing. However, one of the things we want to do is we want to do the analysis of the $10 million surplus that we're talking about. Yeah, that's right. The $10 million worth of surplus, you might want to you can spread it out and not have to go into permanent financing because you can draw down with that, pay really some good money, very conservative, but still we can be somewhat conservative yet aggressive in the sense that we are sitting on money and we should be paying down that debt in an orderly fashion and over a spread of a period of years. But we are in very healthy shape there to do many things.
Is it 10 or is it 11?
It was 11, as Ray said. Last year it was 11 plus, and now it's 10 plus million. Yeah. But it's and I think it's only going to be with some of the improvements, and I'll save that information for when we get really into the sewer operation. We are very much in a very good position. We'll be bringing in, I believe, some additional funding, additional monies from different projects that we're doing, and also looking to make sure that we pursue the increase that we have in the communities that do utilize our sewer. That's also has increased in the cost for them.
Do you have a question?
No, go ahead.
Just so maybe the public gets a better understanding too. You had mentioned we were about $45 million in debt there, and we have a
20 is only permanent.
yeah.
So the other,
Okay, so the 20 million is permanent. At what point in time, say if we have a surplus, and obviously you have to prepare for catastrophic incidences and stuff like that. At what point in time, say if you happen to pay down the debt, right? How much are we actually allowed to accumulate to where we're making money? So at what point in time you say, does that money have to be transferred to other utilities, or is there a law where you have to cap it at a certain amount? How does that work out?
No, there really isn't in a law. The thing is, as we talked along when we first had our first finance meeting, this is not a science. This is an art. This is an art form, and I'm very serious about this because, as I say, I have a real love of this capital finance, whether it's water, sewer, golf, or any other type of utility or authority. And I will say this, that there's a rule of thumb, as you say, the catastrophic concern or the issues that might crop up, but there is a game plan because it's capital financing. It's the only thing we have left of the nature and the size and the scope that we don't pound our people, with the taxes because.
And that's what I was going to get to, because my concern is I'm glad that we're getting to that point. And I know that last presentation last year, it seemed to me that it was a real moneymaker, and there was a vision to obviously make a lot more money where you're going to benefit, the folks that are going to be using our facility, and at the same time, it would benefit the taxpayers. So my point was, you say to yourself, we have a great thing going. So there's really no cap in regards to how much we could bring in eventually. Say if this.
Okay, caps are caps, but the thing is, the facility, our sewer facility, and again, I leave it to when the utility people come up, but it is in good position, but there is a point of where we can no longer take anymore, but our capacity it's still there and still healthy. I
guess I meant more towards cash flow. Say if we brought in.
You don't mean usage, you mean cash.
Cash.
Yeah,
Like
okay,
$20
I just was
million
saying,
profit,
yeah,
that's
yes.
not usage.
Yes.
I know there was a lot of possibilities for other things to be done there.
And then we'll talk about it in detail. But for example, I'll use the fog program, and then right now we're analyzing with fat, oil, and grease. Right now we're doing some other analysis of whether we want to expand the system, not so much on the fog, but other projects. And I'll let Paul or Frank talk to that. But yes, there is. We're doing quite well, and we're quite aggressive in seeking, where there's funds and how we can utilize that. And I'm going to be very hopeful about the fog
And I am
operation.
too, and I think the mayor's on the same page as me, is that if we're making a major profit and we have a lot of our debt paid down, that could compensate for a lot of other expenses in our town.
Absolutely, because it is permissible. And when we get to talking about, how we want to balance certain things, that should be a major part of the discussion.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I'm going to, if they have no other question on the debt service at all. It's pretty clear at this point. Some of the deferred and statutory expenses, very exciting stuff. I'm pumped about it, You have the pension, as you know, we pay that. Social Security payments. I'm going to talk a little bit about how those expenses are allocated to all the different utilities and departments, et cetera. Some of the other items, as you know, every year we do have retirement payouts, and we are allowed to declare an emergency 5-year to spread those out so it works out real well for us. So that's in the budget, of course. And that's about it on the deferred. We have one small item that will be added to the deferred. There was a small over expenditure I think he talked about. It's only a few $1,000s that'll be added in from previous year. It's not the current year of 2014. It was from the 2013 money. So that's just kind of housekeeping stuff. And you'll see that in there, I believe, $12,000. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the allocation. Any questions on the statutory items? It's exciting. I'm pumped about it. No? Okay. Come on, this is great stuff. Okay. I thought... Oh.
If I tell them there's a quiz, maybe they'll pay attention.
Hey, listen. Now I'm going to talk about irrigation. No. I couldn't help it. Okay. Yeah. When I came here, of course, the first thing I did was look at the budget and where things are and how things work. Of course, the system we have will be replaced. It'll be a lot clearer. Of course, the utilities, I wanted to look at some of the expenditures and how things were running, particularly the golf, of course, because there was some issues there. And there was some things that stuck out very clearly to me, and that particular item is the allocations. So when I asked what happens in allocations is that the current fund, the regular the town itself pays a lot of bills for everyone. We pay Social Security, we pay pension, we pay all these other things. And they should be spread out to the utilities and some other departments as well. So I looked, and Ellen and I decided to take a hard look at those allocations. And when asking when these came about, no one knows. They're very old, and the calculations are based on something done many years before a lot of people here. Okay, so in looking at this, we looked at the golf and what's going on there. Where is that indirect expense coming from? And that's where it started a big global look. So what I did, and I provided this to the Finance Committee, was go back and recalculate the allocations based on many different criteria. For example, should be the number of people here, the number of employees, their salary level, because clearly that's all based on that. Vehicle insurance is another good example. How many cars do we have in this particular department? Do we have more here? Do we have more there? So these are the kind of things we did. I have an extensive analysis on these different allocations. In particular, when it came to the golf course, it was charged an amazing amount of money for things I just can't put my head around, quite frankly, and we did fix that. It's not a lot of money to us in a $62 million budget, but to them it is. We fairly, I believe, reallocated the salaries. For example, my salary is there. I'm not spending 15% of my time at the golf course finances. These are the kind of things. I interviewed all of the departments that work on the utilities, that work on the sewer, the collecting. For example, our collectors, they are basically sewer and water because we do all the reads in-house, and so their salaries all go there, and a little bit on the tax side. So that made sense to me. But however, your salary, for example, 13% of your time is not spent on the golf course budget, and I think so. Yeah, right. With that new. So I'm happy to provide this to you. It's quite extensive, and you'll see some changes that have come through on different areas in the budget. For example, even pension in the current, it came down because it was $100,000 for the regular PERS. I brought it down to $50,000 because of the number, because of the salary, not counting the police because they have their own. So, like I said, I'd be happy to provide that to you. The other thing I will mention is that this is an ongoing art, and it may not be totally right. And every year we're going to make this part of the budget process to analyze the allocations, to look at what the expenditures are. Particularly at this point, there's a lot of things going on with the sewer. Great things going on, but quite frankly, we're spending a lot of time on it. So this year, we kind of made that one of our main focus because there's a lot of good things and new things going on there. That goes across the board for salaries. It goes across the board for many different expenses. And like I said, I'll be happy to provide you with the details. Come on, this is great stuff. They look pumped. No, I'm putting them to sleep, not quite. Okay.
Did you have enough coffee to drink?
No, I didn't.
You okay?
I know, but I do this stuff in my office. I'm all by myself. I don't get out a lot. I get to get out and talk about it. Yeah, I do. And I almost said test on here because I wear a microphone for that. Okay, I think that's good.
Thank you.
Any questions for now? And I'll be happy.
just a comment. I'm happy to see that you've reallocated so that the charges are appropriate to the utilities.
Well, that's basically what we're doing.
That was long overdue.
Yeah, and we feel that it's an ongoing process. This isn't something that stays still. I mean, we need to continue to really look at the budget. And like I said, it's a document that continues. It doesn't just stop. It's an ongoing it's alive almost. It has a pulse, for God's sakes, because it keeps giving, I guess. There's lots of changes that go on in our budget.
I just want to take this opportunity to commend Ann. She doesn't leave her office ever, and she's here on the weekends along with Ellen, and just to get this right, for not just for now but for the future. So I want to thank you for that, because I know how hard you worked. I know how hard you continue to work, and that's important. And she's doing it, because she wants to make it right. You can't go home tonight.
High standards.
Going back to my room.
Thank you, Ann.
Okay, thank you, Ann.
Thank you, Ann.
Okay.
Hello? There. No, I think, right. There first.
Okay, next we'll be moving on to the Water Utility Division
open this?
600.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, we're going to open up the public hearing on this division.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Stanton, seconded by Mr. Paluso. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? See no one come forward. Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Motion made by Mr. Stanton, seconded by Mr. Paluso. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to the Water Utility Division number 600. Paula Cazzarelli and Kevin Ryan.
Better if you just speak right into it.
Good evening. First off, I'd like to go over a few of our activities in the water utility so you can understand where we've been, where we're going. As you're aware, you see us around town, we are always busy. It just depends on the time of year, on where our priorities are going. This was a rough winter, and February was extremely cold. Between changing out a half dozen frozen meters a day and replacing pipe, at one point we were up to 11 main breaks in one day. So it was rough, and we're still in the process of going back and doing property restoration as we speak, between permanent paving and that. And then once the weather breaks, then we go and all the road projects open up, and everything, any of those projects in town involve everything, all of us also. And with the backing of Justin Leza, every project before it goes out gets reviewed by the water utility, and we make recommendations for replacement, installation of new hydrants, mains, whatever is necessary, and that's been going on for quite a few years. So keeping up with our infrastructure is critical, and it's been great, but very busy. Right now, we've got Ball Ave project, Pawnee down Lower Hiawatha, Mount Tabor. Just Mount Tabor alone this week, 6 hydrants were replaced. So it's ongoing, and it's doing great, and keeping up with our infrastructure is extremely important. We're not only out in the road, but all of our facilities. We have 37 facilities to keep up and maintain. 10 water storage tanks, 8 boosters, 19 wells. Every one of the facilities, except for one, has been rehabbed since I've been here. We're going on round 2 with our water storage tanks. We have South Belwick to be done, which you approved last year, will be rehabbed this year. So I see us in a good position and moving forward, and also as a result of Sandy, we've made 5 major improvements with our facilities between either new or replacement of generators, some of them natural gas. So you just can't count on Jersey Central anymore. So all the other facilities were hooked up with transfer switches so we can pull tag-along generators and have power back immediately. So we're pretty much have redundant systems throughout and should be in good shape moving forward. And also, our past 2 years, our safety record, there has been no accidents or lost time in the department, which is tough for a utility to maintain.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
That's for 2 years, 2013, 2014, no injuries in the water utility. That is huge. And that's really a testament to Kevin's management of the utility.
Under salary and wages, I just noticed that there's a couple of employees that are not listed to receive the 2%. Is there any reason why? I don't want to state names, but there are a few.
I can't. I have the final numbers. I'm going to have to defer to Ann for that question.
Okay. I just noticed that under the proposed increase, there's a couple of employees that it has 0 and their pay is remaining the same, and they're in the same job title as other employees.
Basically,
You want me to? I can tell you what page. If you
yeah,
look
yeah,
at it. It's,
yeah, and then I'll
page 3 of 4, the page that I'm looking at. If you look down at the 3rd one and the 6th one down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Is it making any sense? It's you think it's
Okay.
yeah,
Well,
because that's what I was just going to say. Instead of saying the name, what I was going to say is my understanding, and not only my understanding, but our we're 2% should be across the board. I don't know how that happened. We've been, every time we're ready for a meeting, we've been drilling down to make sure. And I thank you for finding that, but that would have been corrected when you get the final thing. But that should be. How many people are you noticing? 2 people?
I think it's just those 2.
Okay.
Just 2.
Okay. Yeah. No. There's and they're looking at the names, so they know that there was nothing. There was no means in which to chide someone, punish, or whatever. It's definitely an oversight.
Actually, if you take 2% off the base salary 2014, you are going to get base amount there. So it really should carry over the 48,069, and then the 2% is representative in the 2015.
So it's there.
It's an error in how the numbers were crossed over.
Okay.
So the 2% is in there.
No, it's not. It says base salary is the same.
Base salary is. Which one are you looking at?
The 3rd person down.
Oh, 3rd. I was looking at the bottom.
That's what I was doing. I was looking at the bottom.
And the 6th.
Okay.
It will be corrected. And again, before the final, we would have gone through it, but we appreciate it.
No, I just wanted to make sure those employees got their
absolutely.
increase.
Not only for them to get it, but also that we weren't doing anything that was for a reason.
Right.
Thank you.
Kevin, are we done with changing out to the meter readers to be all wireless and not relying on landlines anymore?
Yeah, that's been done for a while.
It's all done?
Yeah, we're in the process now of going back and even changing some of them out, those meters, updating them.
You're able to just drive by in a truck and pick them up?
Yes, correct.
The next step is to just send it right back to your office and not even have the truck go out.
Well, you could put them.
We're not ready for that
You
yet,
could
huh?
put the reader on a garbage truck. You can put it on a police car.
There you go.
There's a million ways to get that, but we still need to go out. Final reads get called in every day. Things of that nature. it's good to have eyes out there checking on what's going on.
Why is that so much higher?
Just quick question, page 3 of 3, under other expenses, health insurance claim premium expense. I see that the request doubled in 1 year. Okay.
I'd like to keep it with Kevin, no. That's part of that reallocation
Okay.
for total quantity of employees, and the health insurance is one of them.
Okay, and then employee contributions. Shouldn't there be a number there?
There could be, we didn't put it in just yet. We have it in the revenue side right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question on the overtime, the $100,000. Is there any plans in place where that can be decreased or alleviated?
Decreased?
Yeah.
That would be tough. Your emergencies happen every day, and also your salary's increasing by 2%, right? So
you think it's consistent, $100,000
Yeah.
overtime year over year?
It's been going up as the years have gone on. Just the age of the infrastructure, the amount of main breaks, everything is seasonal, weather related to us.
Right.
So far this year, 2015, we're at 25 main breaks. Total for last year was 42, year before 43, 2012, 18. So,
It's the age of the infrastructure
and weather.
and the weather.
Yeah, it determines all emergencies. Any more we try, if we can, throttle them down and schedule them during the day, but that can't always happen.
Question, with the meters, I know this was brought up, I believe, last year, the meters for the other towns, that they weren't reading correctly, so the towns were underpaying us, and now that's been corrected.
That's
I mean, that's
sewer.
in the sewer. Okay, so sewer. All right, so I'll ask that question in the sewer, but just so you know, that one's coming.
That's why I spoke of it a little bit when I said correct.
Right, because we should be bringing in a lot more money.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Oh, when we get to that one, I'll.
And I know I speak loud, but I was going to say, Kevin hinted at it, but the answer is, it usually happens on a holiday, midnight, or, it's freezing cold, so that's why the overtime is even more, so.
Yeah,
because-
or a weekend.
Yeah.
The weekend, it's remarkable how many things happen on the weekend, so you're paying,
Okay.
double money. But Kevin is going to work on scheduling them then, during the day?
We always try that
Yeah, okay.
because it's hard to get guys at night anymore.
Yeah, it's tough.
I mean, what? Oh yeah, we do. Yeah, without a doubt. If it's not causing property damage or harm to the public, at that time we'll try and schedule for the next day. It's also hard getting guys to come back in anymore. I've been here 25 years. I've seen 4 or 5 guys get married, start a family.
Yeah,
they're not all coming
Life
back
changes.
in. The tour they signed up for ain't there anymore.
Yeah.
So it's tough. We'll go to other departments any chance we can, but first step is try and put it off to the next day.
Any questions? No?
Mr. Karifi, when you look through the budget, as you gave me the courtesy last year on the electric rate, I dropped to $50,000 this year, being that the numbers were coming down, and next year we might be able to do the same, but I want to go at it nice and easy, but I wanted to show you.
Great. No, thank you very much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
Great.
Kevin, you would appreciate that I'm not bringing up the issue about watering the knoll with the water from Jersey City and not giving it to the residents to drink.
Yeah, but you are bringing it up.
Appreciate I'm not bringing that up. Sure.
Tradition, Mike, I get that.
I've brought it up for years. That water goes to the tank on Knoll Road, so those of us in the Lake Hiawatha vicinity get that water, and I know when we get it every time.
Okay, see no questions. Entertain a motion to open up the public hearing on the water utility.
Make a motion.
Motion made by Mr. Valori, seconded by Mr. Stanton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
next to the mayor.
Jonathan Nelson, 202 Patriots Road, Mars Plains. Mike, I'm going to ask it, and he already did. What would be the cost to retrofit the water lines to get Jersey City water into the irrigation system?
Kevin, can I answer that question for you?
I know the answer. 'Cause I wasn't going to ask it, but you were.
Well, the answer I've been given every year is the Knoll uses at most 4 million gallons per year. And we have to pay Jersey City for 100 million gallons whether we use it or not.
Right.
So the 4 million is a drop in the bucket, and to spend the money to have to reroute all that over is not worth it. But I bring it up every year.
I know. I agree with Mike. We're on the same page with that. The important questions I have is I see here in 2014 they budgeted. I'm just going to use round numbers. 6.9 million anticipated in rents received in water revenues, and the town actually, or the water utility actually realized almost $1 million more at 7.8. Yet for 2015, the anticipated revenue is 6.9 again, $6.9 million again, but a little less than what the anticipated was for last year, even though it came in at $1 million more. How did those numbers? How do you come up with those numbers?
I'll talk behind your back.
Okay.
With the water, I mean, I have a lot of experience. We need to really, it's weather related. Everything in this utility is weather related. If it's sunny and dry, awesome, we have a good year. If it's wet and damp, we have a lousy year. So we've always budgeted somewhat very conservatively for the revenues, okay? Whatever's extra drops right down to fund balance, which is a good thing. The utility runs lean and mean, and we're able to keep that anticipated revenue at a reasonable rate.
Okay, and then my only
We're also looking to pay down some of the debt service with some of that cash. That's really what we're going to be looking to do. No. With the fund balance.
Oh, with the fund balance.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're all their own little company, you know.
Okay. The other question I have is, I noticed that it's a little over $2 million to paint the South Beverwick Road water tank. If I remember, I think the Lackawanna tank cost about half that amount. Is there? I don't know the difference in the tanks. Are they the same tanks, or is this one twice the size?
This one's twice the size.
Okay, so there's
Lackawanna was $1.3 million to paint that. It's a 1 million gallon elevated. It'll be the Knoll tank, not the South Beverwick tank, on Knoll Road. That's a 2 million gallon elevated. So your surface area is twice as much.
And didn't they change the, I guess, the material or chemicals they use to paint the tanks? Because I remember you mentioned something like that last year.
Yeah, we're not allowed to use the old red lead anymore.
Yeah.
The good old paint that stood
They
up.
don't last as long either then.
No.
okay.
So we have 10 tanks, and we try and get to them. Like I said, in 20 years, 25 years I've been here, everyone has been done at least once, so we're going on the second go-round.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And my last question is, and Ann, I apologize because it's a loaded question. I noticed that you're using $200,000 in water surplus to apply it to the general appropriations. It's a two-part question. In your 25 years with the township, do you recall ever using water surplus to offset general appropriations? And part two is, even though the $200,000 is a relatively small amount in relation to the size of your budget, could this have any repercussions in the year if water rents are down?
All right, first off, I've only been superintendent for maybe 10, 12 years now. But I do know for a fact that in the past, surplus money has been taken from the water utility and the other utilities to balance a budget for the township. Now the second part.
Round two. Quite frankly, this is really righting the ship for the allocation problems that we've had. And that's the simple answer. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, and they, plus the 400,000 came out of the Gulf. We're trying to right the wrongs that happened over the years. Actually, in the last few years. And that's all that is. It's not a lot of money, but it is for the current fund to offset some of the over expenditures that were, not expenditures, but the skewed amount of, yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, Major Butch?
You'd think he'd sit closer. You're gonna keep hopping every single.
Hi, guys.
Hi, lady.
I love his camaraderie.
They're saying, here she comes, here she comes. That's what they're saying. Yeah, they are. I love it. Thanks, Mr. DiPiero. Anyway, can you tell me what you're trying to make right? What you just said to Jonathan?
Please, Pat, just state your name and address.
Oh, Pat Pataccio, 182 Hawkins Avenue. You mentioned a total, and then you said we're trying to make this right. What are you trying to make right? Yeah.
The overcharging of the current and not the current fund and not allocating correctly all the different expenditures that should have been charged to the utility over the years. It's a very small amount to the water because we didn't want to go crazy with that.
How far are you going back?
1 year, quite frankly.
1 year? Okay. Okay. All right. My.
Looked all the way back.
Yeah. I just, I understand people's comments and stuff, but, what we did 10 years ago, we have to forget about. We have to start now with the future and go on. That's it. A couple of questions regarding the objective codes. I'm just looking and reviewing them. Like 261, $7,500 charge. We only laid out less than $5,000. So why don't we just bring that down $1,000? I mean, these are just little things, but they're things that are workable. You have 262 for $8,000. They only expended $1,900, and they're asking for $8 again. Your electric pumping, $850,000. They only expended $671. They're asking for the $800 again. The heating, we didn't pay out anything last year. Printing. I mean, and again, public community water tax, $517, $36,000, and they only spent $18,000. So why aren't we bringing it down to $25,000? I mean, we got to start looking at things as a whole. Now, your health insurance last year, you only expended $546. Now you're asking for $1 million this year, but yet you didn't even use what you had in there.
Pat, we're actually having a fourth meeting, and at that fourth meeting is when we're going to come up with ideas for reductions. We're not doing it as the past, where we did it as we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know.
Oh, okay,
My suggestions
okay.
is just
Gotcha.
this.
No, absolutely.
Okay.
Look into it when
Gotcha.
you're doing it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I understand that. Okay, those are just
Gotcha.
what I saw. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If we're going into another meeting line by line, then I'll wait for that. But as far as, let me just take one item. The public community tax, right? That's 1 cent per thousand on every gallon that's charged the homeowner, and then we got to pay the state. So that figure's just it's a budgetary figure. It depends on how much water, but that comes right from you paying your water bill.
Yeah.
So that's nothing that we can change and say, all right, last year we didn't use a lot of water, so let's drop it. It doesn't work that way.
2014 was the 5th wettest season in history. 2014. Oh, sorry. Yep. So again, Ann did reiterate, these utilities are very sensitive to water use. We had a wet the 5th wettest year in 2014. So you're not going to get, so you can't budget, you have to budget for what is an average and a norm. So you can't just look at year to year, you have to look at a trend. Okay, everything is weather related when it comes to water, sewer, the null. Okay?
Good.
Roy Messmer, 10 Drumlin Drive. Just a couple quick questions. From my private experience, call it retained earnings, but Paula, as of 12/31/14, what is our reserve retained earnings excess?
Amateur open. We could have taken on more qualifying rounds, and one of my goals sometime soon is to take on the men's state open round, and Galloping Hill is hosting that. The emails tell me what I should be doing when it comes to seasonal workers, and I kind of express to them, do you understand one thing? March 1st until November 1st, we're open 7 days a week, sometimes 17 hours a day. At the East Pro Shop, at the West Pro Shop, the last 2 years, 16, 17 hours a day, not 1 hour of overtime. The only overtime that goes out at that facility is on weekends when John Grady's crew has to cut the greens, move the pins, and that's just a very, very integral part of keeping up with the condition of the course, because you wear the greens out if they don't get moved. So, I just think we've accomplished a lot. I'm running out of steam. I'm exhausted. I love my job, but I think that's basically about it. I just hope and pray that we continue to work together with everything. We're doing our part. We're working hard, and it's a credit to the administration.
Under operating surplus anticipated for 2015 is zero. 2014 it was 149,000, and it says realized in cash 149,000. Any reason why that's a zero?
Yeah, because we're trying to build fund balance.
Okay.
So that we can do pay-as-you-go a little bit and do some capital improvements there. Because we changed some of the allocations and we're looking to, we're doing some changes, we're making it healthy again.
2 questions for you under salary wage summary, page 2 of 4, page 3 of 4. I noticed 2 individuals that have raises well beyond the 2%, and they're also not under the merits. I can't give names out, but one's towards the bottom of page 2 of 4, one's towards the top 3 of 4. Supervising?
Yeah, that was a title change.
Okay.
And okay.
It comes with the title?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's what I figured. One up top, second.
Same thing.
Okay, same thing. Good.
Those we really tried to really scrutinize to give you, what was merit and what was, and that's why they remained the same.
Sounds good.
Promotion or
Glenn, on the summary sheet, does that account for the conversation that you're having right now? When you look at full-time blue-collar supervisors, it goes from 2 to 3 with an increase of about 63.7. Division 800. Salary,
Yeah.
wage, budget summary.
Yes, sir.
So
Yep.
that promotional increase, it went from 2 to 3, so there's only 1 promotion?
No, that's a new individual.
Looks like a new
No.
individual to me.
No.
That's a new hire. So we hired an additional supervisor?
It's a promotion. It was a promotion. We didn't.
promotion.
We didn't move to hire an individual. It was just a title change, but also a supervisory position.
Okay. But that's 1 position, but Councilman Stan had asked about 2?
Same reason. Laborers moved into. Just title changes were changed.
Title changes, so their grades were changed.
Grades. Thank
Okay.
you.
While everybody's looking at the budget, if I can just add my 2 cents here. One of the questions you guys asked was major or amateur tournament. We have discussed that for years and years and years and years, if we could do something like that. Yeah, we did have the women's amateur championship at the Knoll, but that did not attract a lot of cars. When you're talking about even a ladies PGA, okay, you're probably talking about 2,000 cars for a week, every day for a week that would be coming here, especially on that weekend. You'd have to make arrangements. It's not just the 4 days that they play in the tournament. It's also the practice days that they come. Okay, members can't use the course for that week. Also, Grady would have to start raising the rough to the regulation 4 inches when you talk about a major tournament. The rough is 4 inches in all those tournaments, and the players can't play on the course while it's for that week. So there's a lot to consider. If you talk about a PGA tournament, the men's PGA, okay, then you're talking about roughly 20,000 cars per day for the week. And there's no way we could handle that. It's a beautiful course, to be ideal to do something like that, but these are issues that would have to be resolved way in advance so you know what you're dealing with. Just food for thought.
Yeah. I was just thinking of the revenue that would bring into the town. I mean, I know, yeah, you're talking a lot of vehicles and stuff.
It
but
would bring revenue, it would bring status. I mean, all these courses where these
status.
PJs are,
We'd be
there's a
on
lot of
ESPN
status.
and Channel 2, 4, 7.
But
I think the amateur
Price you
status
pay
would
for
be
that.
perfect for us. I think the amateur tournaments would be beneficial. It would be nice to host a
Yeah, the
Not to get
amateur
off the
tournaments
subject,
don't
like
draw
the-
those kind of
like
cars.
the NFL thing, where did that go? You said it's not.
I think it's discontinued. I just think they
Oh, really?
lost interest in it, yeah.
I thought maybe
Exactly.
Tom Brady would come.
Because I know,
He could bring his own golf
actually, I
course.
know a lot of the players used to actually stay in Parsippany.
Wants to bring his own.
Used to stay in the Sheridan. A lot of the players used to stay. Yeah.
Restaurants, gas, I mean, it's endless. People who use our course, they're coming to our town, and they're also helping our businesses.
Just to see what the soccer tournament does, and that's kids.
Oh, absolutely.
So.
Yep.
Any questions?
Glenn, in reference to Division 800, Object Code 357, legal expenses, I see a decrease in legal expenses. What do we pay legal expenses for?
Can I see that page?
Page 1 of 2. Object Code 357.
I just want to see it. Down, yeah.
It was reduced, but I'm just curious, what is a legal expense?
Oh, yeah.
Example.
In general, we do, it's again, allocation, and it comes in at actual. We just kind of, we actually just put in what we feel may happen, and I reduce it a bit.
If you wish, I can give an example.
Yeah, we could actually.
About 13, 14, 15 years ago, the guys back here could probably give me a better idea of the date. We had a young man that was killed on a golf course from his own foursome. He stood a little bit in front at the tee, and when the driver hit the ball, instead of going this way, it went that way and hit him in the head and killed him. Well, the parents sued the golf ball manufacturer, the golf superintendent, the Knoll Country Club, the mayor, the council, everybody they could think of were sued. And we have to defend ourselves. It's an unfortunate thing. We're not at fault, but we have to defend ourselves in those kinds of situations.
And if we don't have that situation that year, where do the funds wind up?
Oh, they end up going to fund balance.
Fund balance.
They lapse, yeah. So that's why that's in there. And it is allocated based on actual expense.
I'm looking for the
You have items in capital?
capital.
In the capital, go to the capital.
Yeah. Trying to find it. I know it's 825.
The utilities are always separate, so.
Oh, here you go.
That's gonna be in golf.
Yes.
You have it on there? Gotcha.
No, no, they know, right. The new books are set up, so. No, it's always the same. Utilities are separate. If you look at the
Glenn, on the capital section, Division 825, I see D, Toro Procore Greens Aerator. Didn't we approve a aerator for $65,000 this past year?
Mr. Paluso, no, we were denied our capital budget
Voted it
last year.
down.
One was for
Let's
a
vote it down.
greens aerifier, and the other one was for a greens mower, for a total of $65,000.
Okay.
The purpose of the additional aerator is we've had the ability, whose store tractor is on the Middlesex County Co-op, and they we have purchased a lot of equipment since I would assume, John, was 20 years now we've been dealing with them. But we have a great, at least I have a great rapport with the sales manager, and what we do now is, and I don't want to bore you again, but it's something that is very important to the integrity of the course. So they used to do a aerification of the greens once a year, and what it did was upset the membership and would chase the membership, and we did that in October. Dave Otis from the USGA, he is the expert, and he recommended for the last 15 years or so that we should be doing a biannual aerification. It's less evasive. You use smaller tines that punch holes into the ground. It stimulates growth, and it heals faster for the greens.
What's the longevity of this equipment in terms of years for an aerator and a rough mower?
The aerator we use,
Anywhere from 7 to 15 years. Sometimes we get a lot more.
but we don't use the aerator as much. The rough mower is being used 7 days a week sometimes, and it's both golf courses.
Mower's about 7 years.
If that's what John's saying, I couldn't give you the longevity.
Technology catches up before our equipment gets that.
Right, true.
Most of the equipment is antiquated, though. There hasn't been many purchases at all. And with the manpower constraints that's put on us, we need more equipment to accomplish what we have to.
I know in our finance meeting the other day, we talked about the driving range. We had some questions about the driving range, and I know the cost is $500,000, and you had stated that it was projected that we could probably bring in about $75,000 a year on that. And
Paul, you had that number as well. I was just taking an educated guess.
or what?
Because
or maybe you could answer that. What would be our, how much money would we bring in? Or do you
President
have any
Creasy,
idea how
I don't
much-
want to begin to imagine what we would bring in. I will say this. Ultimately, our plan was to install 22 stalls, and there's been a couple of approaches on how we would handle just the membership when they would go to the range. The whole concept behind around the golf is you like to go to the range and hit balls. So the generic price right now is $5 to $10. $5 for a small bucket, $10 for a large bucket. So if you multiply that by 800 members times 7 days a week, but the biggest thing is we host almost 80, I think it's 88 golf outings this year. On an average, 80 people to our highest 140. Everybody wants to hit balls before they come to play around the golf.
So 500 minimum small bucket. If 100 of them do, it's $500 right there.
There you go. So just multiply everything. Now we have the high schools that look to, and they come there and they use the West. But both high schools, they go to the driving ranges and they pay an exorbitant amount of money. So I'm not saying we have to charge the high schools an exorbitant amount of money, but we could have them using it. Sky's the limit, if we install the 22 stalls, and the biggest expense is going to be the utility poles to encapsulate the fencing so we don't have any issues. But a lot of that work, I'm hoping to use guys that work at the facility. We have machine operators. We have tree experts. You know, we've felled a lot of trees up there. The tree removal has been conducted in the 2 years that I've been there, and it was led by one of my supervisors that's here tonight, John Zimzicki. So we resource aerial trucks when we can, but John is my expert. We do not, after the horrific event that took place when I first started, we do not fell any trees from that point on unless John Zimzicki is present. So he has received advanced training at the direction of Paula Cazzarelli. All those guys, for the first time, have received advanced training. I just think we're making positive steps forward.
Well, I just did some quick math based on what you had just said. If we had 88 events, and with the small buckets at $500 a pop, I mean, we're bringing in $44,000 right there. So, and that's not including everything else. And if they want to go for a larger bucket, we double it.
Well, there's more involved in it too, because right now we're not giving lessons up there. You know, when we had the issue about the golf lessons that were given improperly and all that business, okay, that was a great idea to attract young people to the golf course and give lessons, a golfing camp. With a driving range, we can do those kinds of things and attract young people into the golfing game. I don't know how you can put dollars and cents on the value of that, but it certainly would add to the community and allow young people to have another venue.
Yeah, let me so if somebody wants you know how they have these driving ranges at different places, you can go there on a Friday night or during the week or whatever and drive. Would people that are not members or not there, they'd be also able to go?
Absolutely.
So that would bring in additional
It would
revenue
be open
for
to the
them.
public,
Great.
absolutely.
Okay.
Will it have the same hours as the golf course itself?
Sun up to sunset.
Okay.
And we would need a window of opportunity, and this would actually come on with a couple additional employees to pick the range after we went through all the balls.
Who would manage the range?
Well, that's still something that's in the works, but I would like to pass on the managing of the range, and I'd be happy to take on a more of more responsibility, but I was hoping that the golf pro could manage that. The golf pro would be responsible for that.
Under a contract or?
That's something we can work out in his contract, sure. Because I can't be down there every minute of the day. If there's somebody's credit card would not go through to release the balls, if there was balls stuck in the cylinders, whatever the case may be.
Will we have to hire additional manpower in order
Just to pick
operate
the
this?
range. Just to pick
How
the
many more
range.
people have to be hired?
Don't they have a
Councilman
machine or
Paluso,
something?
again, I can get these numbers. I've toured different facilities, but I don't want to tell you. Minimal. We would need, I would think, at least one to two people every other day, if not every day.
Right, so we're looking at the expense of the initial installation of the driving range at $550, but we have to look at the ancillary expenses, which is the labor, the equipment, because you're going to need specialized equipment to pick up balls, drop them.
All we need is we have the golf carts. All we need is a, they call it a cherry picker. It just rolls on the ground and picks up the balls. We could put on another responsibility, unfortunately, and John's probably not going to be happy with that, but they could cut and maintain the grass until we have the flexibility as we move forward to maybe look at a turf area so we wouldn't have to maintain it. But I'm confident that the workers that we have within the town could do a majority of the excavation, which would reduce the cost. Our biggest expense is going to be the poles.
So if we were to provide lessons for this or attract a younger audience to golfing, how would those fees be collected and who keeps those fees?
The lessons would go directly to the golf pro, and he's contracted to do the lessons. So that would be
That's on the
exclusively,
greens now. That's not for the driving range. That's separate.
but he would give the lessons at the driving range too.
Hold on. Go ahead, Alan.
We're going to look at that because that is what he's contracted for. But when it comes to the driving range, we're going to look to that because we probably have to concession it out, which means we would take in fee. All right, that's kind of the vision here, but obviously we have to get we have these logistics. We kind of envision it that way, that they would have to pay a fee to use our driving range and give
Put this out
lessons.
to an open bidding process, the concession?
Yes, it is, actually is, yes.
Okay.
It's like a concessionaire, like the Knoll Catering. They have to bid it.
Okay, so it'll be an
All right,
RFP
so that
going
would
out.
have to happen there.
So would you consider that an RFP going out for the concession?
Yeah,
Okay.
but that would be next year. I mean, that wouldn't, obviously, this is going to take some time to do. And we have to look at the contract, but that's how we visualize it.
Thank you. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to open up the public hearing on the golf utility.
Make a motion.
Motion made by Mr. Stan, seconded by Mr. Paluso. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Somebody really should be bringing him the mic back there.
I'm just gonna count how many times he gets up and looks at the wall. Forget that.
Jonathan Nelson, 202 Patriots Road. I'm just going to follow up on this driving range. From what I've heard from Glenn and what I've heard from Councilman DiPiero and what I've heard from golfers, I don't question anybody when they say that there's definitely a need for the driving range. But before $550,000 is approved, I think it should be established who's going to be running the driving range, who collects the revenues for the driving range. I see here that the synthetic turf installation is written in here as part of the project, but then I just heard a contradiction saying that it's going to be grass and maybe turf in the future. So is this synthetic turf part of the $550,000, or is that going to be an added expense in the future?
That's not a part of this.
That's not going to be a part of.
This is here.
Okay, so it's just going to be.
Increase the fee.
Okay, all right. So that answers that question. So the driving range, the 550, is for no turf at all.
Correct.
Okay. Now, in last year, I saw that it was going to be transferred to the Open Space Trust Fund. Would the bonding on this be transferred to the Open Space Trust Fund as well?
You're holding the mic. I'm going to talk behind your back again. We are actually allowed to do that and permitted to finance it through the Open Space Trust Fund. We're hoping to build some of the fund balance to be able to do some of that through the golf revenues themselves. But we do have the permission because it is actually open space. We haven't determined that just yet. We'll go through the funding with the Finance Committee.
This is more of a statement than a question. We all know that the utilities are self-liquidating, and the Knoll especially, since that's not a necessity. None of our taxpayer dollars is being used to fund it. It's totally self-sufficient. But the Open Space Trust Fund is coming from our tax dollars. So I would urge the council to urge the administration and Ann in finance to really not use the Open Space Trust Fund taxes for it, especially because we're collecting revenue for it.
I think Ann wants the microphone back.
He's behind your back.
I don't think you can either way.
Just a statement regarding that. The Knoll was purchased with open space, and we are allowed, not saying we will, to as part of the open space is to pay the debt service through there.
And in essence, if you use an open space trust fund money to purchase it, you're still using public funds. So you purchased it with public funds. So, and basically, why don't, if we can do that and it's available to us, and you're using it because it was purchased with open space fund, either way, it was purchased through the public funds.
Yeah, but I know what Jonathan is saying is, and I agree.
It's a money-making.
We've been running it as a utility. It's been
It's running as a utility,
all these
and
years.
we didn't buy it with Open Space Trust Fund money because that didn't exist when we bought the Knoll. That was purchased with Green Acres funding. It was purchased with. It was a Green Acre. Right.
Yeah, my preference, Jonathan, I know what you're saying. My preference is, okay, we've had a couple of tough years at the Knoll with the hurricane and then the flood that hit us hard. And then money was taken out many years ago, which is history. to get this driving range done, okay, what I would like to see, and I haven't spoken to anybody over here, what I would like to see, okay, is get it done with the open space money, but I would like to see the Knoll itself pay back the debt, okay? But get it done. This is the way we can get it done.
Don't forget too, you're talking about 5%, which is 27,500 per year. You're not talking about the 550 all at once.
Would the bonding, I mean, I know this is all hypotheticals now because it hasn't been worked out, but would the debt service be paid with open space trust fund money every year?
Just the principles. But I'm not sure about that, so we have to discuss.
We haven't discussed that
Okay.
yet.
We haven't discussed it.
This has to be approved before we can even.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
go
Something
into all
for you
these
to consider
questions.
before you approve it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I'm against the driving range because
Yeah.
you've certainly convinced me and probably most people that it's necessary. It's just a matter of the financing on that. That maybe it's just a good idea to know how it's going to be done before you do it. I'm not going to get into any past practices or anything like that. That's old news. The only other thing I saw in there was with the water department, it was established that rents are down or anticipated to be down this year because I guess it's going to be a dry season.
Actually, so far, a lot of water's probably been used. It's been very dry.
Right, it's been a very
therefore
dry.
People are going to use more water. So we're hoping for more.
Well, if that's the case, then going back to the water, then why are you budgeting for less rent?
He explained why you do it on the average, and that's what he said.
Okay.
So if you go lower.
30 seconds.
If you go higher and go lower.
Okay.
then-
Last year we budgeted for, I think it was, I don't know where my notes are, 110,000 in water bills, in water usage, and this year we're budgeting for 125,000. Are we just, we're just going down the middle because we were over budget last year on it? I guess that's the answer? Okay. All right, that's it.
Thank you.
If you don't mind, I'd like to just say something about the revenues regarding a utility. It's conservative to budget low on the revenue side or average because this way we're not raising any rates. I mean, you're covering your expenses. We're keeping it healthy. Anything that's left goes to your fund balance. It's a good thing. You don't want to over budget. You just don't, especially in a utility because you want to be self-funded.
And Jonathan makes a good point, and Mike, and it can be done. We can utilize the money instead of going out to borrow money on the notes. We can make an arrangement between the open space and then pay it down, so we don't incur any debt service, we don't incur Chapter 20 expenses, and so it can be done and spread over. As Brian, I saw you start breaking it down, and then pay it back, and then you're not paying interest on anything, and it can be a win-win. You can get the thing done, do the open space, and then pay it back, because by that time the golf utility is healthy and it can pay back the open space fund, and that's a win-win for everybody.
Thank you.
Ellen, since you're talking about the open space fund, is there any grants available that we can utilize to make this project more attractive?
I think Glenn talked a little bit about doing as much of some in-house work, because we've got some very talented people.
But is there any
And-
external grants, though?
No,
Since you're dealing with open space?
not. The state itself is very has nothing. There's
like
no
that
open
has
space.
dried up a long
It's
time
dried
ago.
up, and our open space is pretty healthy, and we're still collecting it. In fact, that's another thing you might want to start to look at. Where we're going in the future with your open space
Also,
taxes.
before one of the people leave, I just wanted to mention there's a golf committee. Did the golf committee make a determination or a recommendation on the project of the irrigation and the driving range? Were they consulted, and what was their feedback?
Everything that I implement, anything that we do, Councilman Peluso, is consulted with the entire golf committee, and whether it's a fee structure change, whether it's equipment, whether it's conditions on the course, they're consulted,
So the
and they
golf
were
committee
very,
agrees with
very
the
supportive.
recommendations then?
Got to keep in mind, I'm there 2 years. Some of these members that are on the committee have been there 25 and 30 years, and they've been very, very supportive of the Knoll utility, and
And you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 members right there from the golf committee.
That's why I'm mentioning it. I'm mentioning it only because they are here tonight, and out of respect for them being here and spending their time, we appreciate your time on the committee and your input. Thank you.
Very supportive.
Oh, I forgot to count me, 6.
And the golf committee for years has been requesting for me to put this driving range in. So, and if anybody knows, it's them. And they see it, they play there, they know the course. And I will tell you one thing I'm proud of. I was in, I don't know if it was I was in Chopra, and somebody came up to me and said to me, "You have a great course." And they play, and we got into a conversation, and they even said it's 10 times better than the county's course. So that's good to know.
Hey, Glenn, just one question. Where would actually, I don't know if you brought up, where would the driving range be actually put?
If I can just say this, I would encourage you, and I know you all have busy schedules, but please, one day, come up to the Knoll facility, because I would love to take you on a grand tour. But if you're approaching the Knoll West, coming up the hill, to the left there's a lower parking lot. You know where the pool is?
Yes, yeah.
Right behind the pool is a parcel of land. And
Is that the section you see from where we had the picnic? Yes. That's what I thought, that track of land there. Okay.
so we're going to hit from...
Okay. Yes.
But
Yes.
that's ultimately our plan.
Okay.
22 stalls, and then if we have to increase that because, of the demand, then we can do that.
Demand's a good thing. Okay.
But again, you can ask the golf committee members.
Okay.
Ultimately they've wanted a driving range for 25 years, if not more.
Glenn, that property, do we rent out that property to different groups that want to utilize it? I believe in the past there was some animals that were there. There was...
Councilman Peluso, I'd have to defer that to the Director of Parks and Forestry because they handle all those.
The only activity on that particular land has been some Indian...
American Indian.
Yeah. That was set up by Joe Generone Sr. many years ago, and
I remember that, yes.
They still do that. They go to that property. Once we establish the driving range, they won't be able to do that anymore.
I don't think they come here anyway, but the netting...
I think they do. They were there last year, weren't they?
Committee knows.
No? Okay.
That's the reason why the cost is what it is the netting has to be a certain height due to the trajectory of hitting from up down. Okay, so you need to have the height of those poles and those nets, and that's where a lot of cost comes in. And like Glenn said, a lot of our own manpower, our staff behind us, they're very talented. We have an extremely talented workforce here. And, they can do a lot of the work in terms of creating the pads and whatnot.
In reference to the work, what environmental impact will be on that property? I know most of it is green currently, but is there a number of trees that have to be removed or any environmental impact that we're recognizing?
No. That was a driving range before.
Back in the day, yeah.
Back in the day, Frank Priori built that Lenape picnic area and cut the driving range in half and put the net up. But the driving range is inadequate the way it is cut in half like that. Because first of all, kids cut through the nets and steal the golf balls. The prior pro couldn't make any money there because the golf balls kept disappearing on him. And the net has to be stronger and higher in order to be an adequate driving range. So this is all additional expense. To make that range work as a driving range again, has to be bigger poles, a stronger, bigger net, okay, before it's safe and we don't cause a danger to the Lenape picnic area when it's used.
Do we have to budget for any environmental impact studies?
Again, I would assume we're going to have an engineer. We're going to have someone come in and design the entire.
Is that included in the 550?
There is. That was irrigation. There is in capital for irrigation, but not for the driving range. No. Yeah, so that would be part of the 550.
You don't need an environmental impact study because it was a driving range before it's an existing facility. But what you do need is how high, where the mats are going to be, where you hit from, is higher than down the low end where Lenny Lenape is.
Right, but our engineer will determine whether.
They have to
doing
determine
sites.
how high that net
Yes.
has to be safe.
And that's all included in the 550, that's inclusive.
Yeah, the professional engineer would determine the necessary height, all of that, absolutely.
Now, on
So
both
we-
of those projects, the irrigation and the driving range, is there any concern that you may have an overrun on expenses and you may have to come back to council for additional funding?
The cost factor with the driving range.
Let Ann answer, she's trying to.
Go ahead.
Well,
Both talk.
I don't.
Glenn, she was
But
jumping
we
up and
all
down
have
behind you.
we all have the right answer here. Glenn was saying that a lot of it's going to be done in house. I believe it's very conservative and inclusive. So no, I don't believe it will have that problem.
And the irrigation as well?
Yes.
Keep in mind with the irrigation, I just want to add, in 2009, council approved an evaluation of our irrigation, so there's already $30,000 to be spent.
Right.
Okay, so. Okay. So we feel very confident. However, you know, you don't know a project until you dig in, and you know, these are some good numbers that we got. Glenn got some good estimates.
So you don't feel there'll be an overrun for additional funding? Since
I
we're
don't
doing it
believe
in-house?
so. Not at this point.
Okay.
I didn't know if you wanted to ask a question. Oh, okay. Okay.
Here,
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. My name is Al Paradise. I'm a longtime resident of Parsippany, and I'm the chairman of the Knoll Advisory Committee for the last 20 years. And I'd just like to give you a little background and just tell you a little bit about the Knoll, if I can. The Knoll is a club that has been steeped in, its history is steeped in tradition. You know, it was started by such men as Thomas Watson of IBM and Jay Monroe Business Machines, and they hired Charles Banks to design a course for him using his golf course philosophy. And today, that course is one of the finest in New Jersey. As we go along, the Knolls flourished throughout these years as a public utility, and it's owned by the people of Parsippany. Now, keep that in mind. The people of Parsippany own this course, okay? And it's one of the few courses designed by Charles Banks that is virtually untouched or by upgrades, right? The Knoll has, throughout the years, has survived wars, financial depression, fires, bankruptcies, hurricanes like Irene and Sandy. And years ago, that was only used or, let's say, enjoyed by a few. Today, as you know, Glenn said, there's 725 members up at the west, but there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people every year that use and enjoy the west and the east and the banquet facility. And those thousands and thousands of people also drive through our town, which is good for business community. Okay. During my years in my tenure, let's say for the last 20 years, the Knoll has always been self-supporting. And I think that's very, very important to understand. It's a utility, it's self-supporting, while it's still doing repairs, refurbishing, upgrades, and so forth to the course. And such as we, just let's say in the last 4 or 5 years, we've done refurbished and so forth, the sand traps around the green, the sand traps in the fairway, new car paths, new tees, new water fountains. We repaved the road that goes right through the Knoll, okay, with the Knoll expense or our money, okay? The east parking lot, air conditioning in the east. We've done extensive, as John and Glenn have said, extensive drainage work and also tree work, all at no cost to the taxpayer. And I think that's something that's not being brought out here enough. It's no cost to the taxpayer, okay? And we're fortunate. Right now, the Knoll is noted, it's in the metropolitan area, and a lot of magazines and a lot of people, as being one of the best managed courses. And we're fortunate to have Glenn Fosell as the manager right now, and John Grady is the golf course superintendent, and Paul Cosarelli is the Department of Public Works. They've cut costs. They've done a tremendous job in the last 20 years. What I've seen, all putting in new programs, new procedures. Glenn went through all of this before. without compromising the course or the service at all. Okay? The Knoll is also, as was mentioned, I think in 2009, Golf Digest, awarded the Knoll as one of the best public access courses in New Jersey. Last year, Golf Magazine gave Knoll the best public course, access public course.
Number one
in the
best course.
metropolitan area. And I think this year we have Golf Week. We're one of the 8 or 10 best courses in New Jersey, public and private. But that's no small award. Right? That's something to be proud of. And on top of that, the course itself, I have to, I'd be remiss if I didn't congratulate, John Grady and his crew for the job he's done, not just this year, for the last 10, 15 years, just to keep upgrading the course. And also, Parsippany is noted as one of the best towns to live in New Jersey. And you know what? I think the Knoll Country Club is one of the reasons for it. So, you here, have to get to a point where you're going to be reviewing this and looking to approve this. But again, as Glenn said, the advisory committee invites you up to the Knoll, okay? Take a look firsthand and see what one of your great assets are in this town. Glenn would be more than happy to give you a tour and answer any questions you have, okay? Our advisory board, we had a meeting, the advisory board, wholeheartedly recommends that you accept the budget as presented, okay? And for the good and the economic and the future growth of the Knoll. Okay? And, it's important. These things that they're saying, it's important, but they're in the budget, and the budget can handle itself, okay? But it is true that we're weather, we're determined by the weather, what happens to us. But, over the years, it's something that when you look back, if you look at the Knoll, so forth and so on, and you see what a great course it is, and to me, not only do I think it's a great course or a great asset, I think it's probably the greatest asset that this town has. And I think you all should be proud.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John Zemzicki, I'm the supervisor of grounds at the Knoll Country Club. I'm also the president of the Blue Collar Supervisors. You guys get hung up on the numbers and everything and a whole bit, but over the last 2 years, I've been at the Knoll 22 years. We've had private contractors come in there, and they don't do the quality work. They get paid the top money. They walk off the property. Our guys end up finishing the projects. We do all our own work. We do our own construction, do our own tree work, we do our own paving. Since Glenn and Paula have shut the place down as far as everybody coming in there and taking out whatever money they want, the men have given up their overtime in cash, have taken it in comp time. There's been a lot of sacrifices made up there. The staff is smaller, the equipment's old, and it's amazing that you guys don't come up there and see behind the curtain. Take a look at it, see what's really going on up there. The Knoll today is not the same it was even 5 years ago. I was there when Don was there, and the management was rough, to say the least. But now we're finally turning the corner, but it just doesn't seem like we're getting that extra hand. I mean, if you come there, you'll see the guys can't do any more. You know what I'm saying? I walk in Glenn's office a lot, and he is totally frustrated because he just keeps trying to make it work. So basically, if you come up there, we'll show you behind the curtain. Not the. This is nice. I know you got to do this stuff, but actually see. But you know what I mean? Like actually see what's going on. Like I said, I've been a president of the Blue Collar Supervisors, the vice president. I've been in front of this council. We used to come here every night, every time you guys had a meeting, and we were going to show you how to save $1 million. We were told, don't worry about it. It's amazing what has happened in the last 2 years. And it's getting everybody a little nervous with all the talk about all this other stuff going on, especially the guys working there that have been giving up stuff. The union's working with them. The guys are working with them. Everybody really wants to see this succeed. And I mean, it's like I'm blowing smoke here or whatever, but Paula has turned over every rock. Contractors don't walk. The other day she told me to throw some guy off the property. They don't walk in and out of the Knoll. You know, it is really turning around, and with your help, I mean, it really can be, you know, benefit the taxpayers. It does take a piece of the taxpayers' burden, you know, and I just want to make sure, I would like to see you guys come up there and, you know, really take a look at the projects that we've done and that we've saved money on, and we're not allowed to bring outside contractors in, so we got to figure out a way to get it done anyway. But that's all I got to say.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, see no one else come up from the public, entertain a motion. Oh, hold on a second.
Roy Messmer, 10 Drumlin Drive. Heard some good people speak tonight about the golf course, but you know the truth of the pudding is what I brought up on Tuesday night. I spoke to 46 regular golfers who played that course for many years. And you heard what I said, but there are some new people here tonight. The course has never been in this good a shape. Never. In addition, I'd just like to say something about the one area of the golf course. I've had the fortunate pleasure of going up to the knoll twice in the last 2 months. But before I say that, because I'm getting a little miscombobulated here, read this book, The Legend of the Knoll. It is fantastic.
It's a great book.
And I want to thank Mr. DiPiero. It was the second or third time I spoke at this council in front of the council about 20 years ago. You said, I'll make a phone call for you, Roy. Go up and see Pat DeFalco and get a copy of this book. It is fantastic. Next thing. Regarding the condition of the course, like I said, the customers, 46 of them told me that. But as my tour there, and unfortunately, Glenn and I had to cut short our one tour because the hot water heater went. You talk about, it looked like a Yellowstone gusher going on. So we cut our tour short that day, but I got up there a couple of weeks later, did a tour of the course, saw some of the people playing, but I did notice a couple of things, and I did notice the night of the Rotary Club meeting, affair, I should say, Mike. The buildings, the sidewalks, the railings need some work.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what's in the budget here tonight, but that stuff has to be addressed, because people see that first when they get there. And in all fairness to the caterer, and you talk about liability and lawsuits, that has to be addressed. Next thing, regarding the golf range. I was shocked that we didn't have a golf range up there. As you all know, most of you guys up there have played sports. Brian and I go back a long time. We never warmed up. We always warmed up before we played baseball, took ground balls, belonged to us. That's going to be a big, big asset. And I'll tell you another thing. Fathers like myself, and my son had no interest in golf, thank God, because he loved baseball, or I'd put him up for adoption. But you take a father in town on a Friday night, or this time of year when it's late till about 8 o'clock, takes his young son or daughter up there and hits some balls. That's your bloodline. You've got to get the younger people involved, or we're not going to have a golf course. It's in any sport, baseball, basketball. That's very important that we get that started up there. I was shocked when I got up there, and Glenn showed me where he wanted to propose it and everything else. I've spoken to Paula about a couple ideas that I have regarding the golf range. That's all I have to say, and I can't, what John said and Glenn said, the 5 of you, get your bodies up there as soon as possible and see the job that these men and women have done. It's a beautiful asset we have. Thank you.
Roy,
Thank
in
you.
answer to
Thank
your
you.
question, money is already in there for the improvements to the buildings. Yes. Yeah, no.
I'd like to add on to
I
what
mean,
Roy
budget
said.
many years ago,
The history of the Knoll, that was written by George Botto, who was a member of our Golf Advisory Committee for about 20 years. And after our meetings, we used to go grab a drink at the bar and go sit outside, and he would tell me stories about. He was a caddy at the Knoll when the syndicate guys owned the Knoll, when all the big players, Mara and all those families owned it. And Bob Hope and Bing Crosby and Frank Sinatra was a regular. He caddied for these people during those years when he was young at the Knoll. He had lots and lots and lots of stories. And I told him, George, he has the original Charles Banks drawings, the original layout of each hole. It's in the book, but he has the originals. And I said, you ought to write this all down. And he said, I'm not a writer. So I went to Frank Priori, who was the mayor then, and I said, Frank, this guy's got a wealth of knowledge about the Knoll. We ought to have it written down. Use your ghostwriter. So he did. He used Dame Bath, okay, and Dame Bath took all this information and made a book out of it. And then when we went to renovate the course back to the banks, original banks, the sand traps, over 50 years, you get sediment in the traps, and when it rained, water would just sit in the traps, and the banks were deteriorated. From his original drawings, he resigned from the advisory committee to become our consultant and restored all of the drainage and all of the sand traps to the original bank's design. You go look at that third hole, that sand trap used to be only 6 or 7 feet deep. Now it's down in the original. You can't even see the stick when you're down in that sand trap. So it's back to the original bank's designs, thanks to George Pato.
Thank you.
Papatacha, 182 Hawkins Avenue. Well, I was going to mention about the building, too, because I've heard stuff on the building. I think that's very important. As you said, that's the place they hang out. Something happens, we're in trouble. The other night, when they were doing the presentation on the irrigation, Leonard said that golfers' expectations have gone up. What they expect in a golf course. And I find that in a lot of things. People's expectations just keep going and going and going. Doesn't matter. They don't care. But if, their expectations are going up, let's get those fees to match, okay? We got to start making some money and bring some money into this in order to recoup this money. It's only fair. Question, are we using any surplus money or forgiving any debts this year with the golf course? No. Okay, thank you. Golf camps are great as long as it's done properly and it's done by the contracted person that it's supposed to be done by. There was budgeted amount of $275,000 in last year's budget for the driving range. What happened there? No, 275,000. Got my last year's notebook back there, guys. I bought it this year.
Yeah.
No, I know that.
Decided, but no.
But I did see that last year it was supposed to be $275,000 towards that driving range. Now, of course it wasn't used. This is what I'm saying. We're not using this money.
Last year we had zero. There was no money in there last year. It may have been proposed, but it was never.
Are you sure on that?
100%.
Okay, because that's what they said when they left here that day, was $275,000.
No, it was never put in. Zero. Nope.
Okay. Alrighty. Yeah, well, that's why I'm saying I didn't, I was here, so I don't know why it didn't, Oh, the credit card transaction fees. That's the fee that we're going to try to get the people to start paying for? Is that the one where we get charged for? So now this year are we going to be trying to get them to include that into their bill?
Yeah, and Cucci and Guinea are working on that right now. We're finding different questions as whether we can do it, because it was also brought up with the court, and we did pursue it. And if you saw the notes, in your notes that we responded, it said it's still under investigation because we're in some documentation we're finding we can get it back, and in others we're not. So before we step off and say yes or no, We want to be clear. So we are looking into it, Pat, but we've got to get a little more into the weeds.
Yeah, actually, I'm pretty sure I've heard that has been done before. They were able to do that in other places. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I like to step off.
How much in open space money have we used? On the Knoll right now in the last few years? Yeah.
None.
Roundabout figure?
I don't think we've used any.
No, we did it, we forgave a debt and we used sewer surplus at one
What
time.
debt did we forgive?
Water debt.
There was $0 budgeted for water in 2012.
And the reason for budgeting zero was what?
I would imagine because revenues did not reach anticipated revenues.
Well, I thought it was because we never paid. The utilities didn't bill each other years ago.
Well, that would be prior to 2006, I believe, Mike. 2005. From 2005 going forward. Is that correct, John? Was it 2005 when they all started paying water?
I think it was 97, 98, the water department was doing really poor.
Oh, that far. Okay.
So that's when they started doing it?
Right.
Because this is the only town that does that. In every other town I've ever seen, water utility doesn't build sewer utility doesn't build water utility, they don't build themselves, and as far as the Knoll goes, any employee in the township, even if they don't live in town, pay township rates, so even the Knoll is giving back to those utilities.
I don't know of any other municipal portion of New Jersey that's
That's my point. No other utilities in the state of New Jersey that I know of builds its own utilities. I mean, it's unheard
We're
of.
doing something right.
Well, actually, we're
No,
not
we're
doing
actually
something.
doing something right.
Actually,
because
we're
it's
not
a-
doing something right.
It's a self-sustaining
It's
entity, and they should be paying all their bills. And water is part of their bill. I'm
Well, then the
serious.
sewer utility should pay the sewer bill. It's sewer bill.
Everybody should be paying
And
what
the water
they're
utility
supposed to
should
be
pay the
paying.
water bill. I mean, how ridiculous can you get?
Mike, we can play this game all night long. I'm just saying, it's got to be. You got to
Okay, Pat, I disagree with you. I don't think
30
utilities
seconds.
should be paying
Okay,
bills
the
for
last thing is, if we're going to use open space money, this irrigation system, first let's find out how much open space money we definitely have. Secondly, there are so many more projects that have been on lists for many years. But thirdly, if we do this, myself, it's a separate entity. You say they're going to pay us back? Can you actually get a contract? Do you state that? Plus get any interest that we would have been making with the open space money? No, I'm not giving it to you.
Wait a minute. Now, you know what? You can have a couple of bites at the apple. What I said was, the thing is, it should be a win-win for both entities. So if we are going to borrow the money from the open space fund and pay it back, there should be the fact that the money is there, it's fully funded, and so either at a deep discount or no interest paid back, because we're helping each other. We're one Parsippany. It's one golf course. It's one sewer. It's one church, it's one school, it's one, so we're all in this together. So there's a way to make all the boats rise when the tide comes in. So what I'm saying is, the fact that of paying it back is very important, and that's your win. The win that would give to the entity itself to get healthy is to, just pay it back. I think that's a fair.
Time's up.
I can understand that. Just don't agree with it.
Yeah, time.
Yep.
Okay, time's up. Thank you.
Phil Marshall, 2D Ascended Drive. I'm also a member of the advisory committee. I'd just like to bring out into the open, when we did the reallocation, how much money the Knoll was basically being overcharged for employees that they didn't have, and other expenses that were being charged to the Knoll that weren't actually being incurred.
I can do a percentage and then provide a number at another time. It's about, we're being charged 12% of a lot of numbers, and we reduced it in half. And I can give you more information on dollar amounts, but it was a lot of money.
And some of that half is that it was 12% and then others went to 6, some went to 2%, because but the averaging out is we broke it down into half, so from 12 to 6%, and those numbers you can do it. But Ann really drilled down. She did investigate, the amount of people, the pension, the payments, how it was. So that was fair to do.
My big point is we've heard about this water bill thing. We've heard about this water bill thing. It's been in the papers. I've heard it mentioned in multiple meetings, and that number I know is a smaller number than the number that we're talking about in the reallocation that the Knoll's been paying year in, year out, year in, year out. So I understand, but my point is it far exceeds the number of that water bill that everybody thinks is such a big deal.
Thank you.
Another comment on the water is with the new irrigation system, we should save quite a bit of money on the water. So,
All right, see no one else come forward, entertain a motion to close the public hearing on the golf utility.
Make a motion.
Motion made by Mr. Valori, seconded by Mr. Stanton. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break at this time.
Make a motion to reconvene into open session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who was the
Opposed?
second? I'm sorry.
Mr. Peluso.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the sewer utility, Division 700.
Okay. First, I would just like to say our sewer superintendent cannot be here this evening. He had a family emergency. So I hope everything is okay with Phil and his family. I'd like to take this opportunity to open up a little bit as to what the sewer plant has done and where we're going. Hurricane Sandy struck 2012 into 2013. Parsippany, and even carrying into 2014, I know you might have heard this, but I just want to reiterate what this township did for 57 other towns. We took in sludge from 57 other towns, and essentially what that means is 57 towns did not contaminate our waterways. That is something we're very proud of at the plant. One of the other things that we're doing is it's always important, it's always best to remove people off septic and get them hooked up to our sewer system. We have hooked up the Pudding Stone residents to sewer. That's now sewered, I should say. If you recall, you passed a resolution with regard to that. Also, we have sewered Craftsman Farms. We will continue to sewer areas in our town that are currently septic. 2 areas, Long Ridge, High Ridge, was part of our phase we had discussed last year. The geology in those areas is quite challenging, and that's something that we're looking at on the horizon. We rebuilt the Lake Hiawatha flood station, fully tested, fully operational. We are in the process, which next week, hopefully you will approve, the RFP to evaluate our electrical system at the plant. The plant upgrade, as a matter of fact, we're just completing the last final punch list items. So we're very pleased with that. And I just want to reiterate that the electric bill went from, what, Joanne, 150, 80,000? Right. I was just looking at a monthly. Yeah. Okay. 30. Yep. So that's incredible. That's a result of basically just retiring a tremendous amount of pumps. We're down to 5 blowers, which actually just the company that we bought them from just came back to the plant to recertify. That was a, that was a negotiation that took place last year, a very successful one on behalf of the township. And the other thing you had, the other item brought up, I think Ellen brought it up, was the processing of fats, oil, and grease. We are leasing our property, our old filter building, to Lantern Environmental, who plans on taking in their first load of grease on June 15th of this year. And at this point, I'm going to just turn it over to you if you have any concerns, questions about the sewer utilities budget.
I'll get back to that question that I asked earlier about how
About
much,
the outside, the external municipalities.
Yeah,
You want to
so-
get to that now? Or?
Sure, yeah. How much more now are we bringing in compared to before the meters and everything were fixed? What's the difference now that we're bringing in compared to before they were fixed?
But I could tell you how that's calculated and why the outside towns are going to be paying more. Because essentially, when you had flow readings of greater numbers, okay, the outside utilities pay a percentage of that flow. So when the overall flow is up here, you're going to pay less. So when we discovered there was an issue with the meters, and actually it was a mechanical issue, we had an engineering consultant evaluate, because it was important that the problem be identified and solved, because we don't want to go down this path again. We did hire Lou Slaby to evaluate the system, and there was a default in the way the weir was positioned. And essentially, you know, the height of the water is what measures the flow rate, and it was giving a false drop, indicating a higher flow. So, for example, before we realized, I believe the flow was something around 14.3 million gallons a day, when in fact we are treating about 9.2 million gallons a day. So when you allocate out the expenses to the outside towns, of course it's better the higher the volume that we treat, the lower cost to them, because their percentage to that total value is smaller when it's higher. So now that we know it's 9.2, that's how you get the outside municipalities and the people we serve, because it's a percentage based on what they bring to our facility. So now that that overall percentage has decreased, their cost is going to increase.
Right. Do we know what the increase is, what the difference is from what it was?
Ann, I think that Ann doesn't know those numbers offhand. Do you?
I don't know the exact amount, but it's significant. I mean,
Like, what are we, I mean, give me an estimate, guesstimate.
wow. What's that?
You said $3.
Wow, East Hanover alone, at least, at least 300 to 400,000. Yeah,
Just from East Hanover or
yeah, just
total?
East Hanover.
Oh.
East Hanover's the biggest one, and that's the one that is a lot of money.
Okay.
One of the reasons, to be transparent, one of the reasons why we don't have exactly the number is when you say to somebody, you need to pay us more money, they don't just say, oh, here it is. So, and I'm not being facetious, but I'm being, so what happened was there had to be they had to see the report and why, and I know that there's been they've had multiple meetings, and it's getting back on track. They started to pay the higher number, but we need to get
I'm
some.
just trying to figure out how much more money we're bringing
Oh,
in.
it's, yeah,
compared
but
to
the point I'm
past.
making is, we can extrapolate, but we haven't received all the money that we will be receiving, but as Ann said, it is significant, but.
Thank you.
It's not retroactive, it's going forward, right?
Yeah, but it started.
Yeah, when the problem was identified, so
Okay.
still back.
Okay.
Just a question in regards to the fats, oil, and grease. What is it profit-wise that we're going to be bringing in a month through the fats, oil, and grease to the town?
This is a new business venture, so the Lantern Environmental is projecting a 250,000 gallon a day production. So you multiply 250,000 gallons times 0.014. Now, by the way, that would be 100. That would be a gross profit. However, we have, I believe, the profit margin is really 97% on something like that. But keep in mind, Councilman Valori, anything that starts a new business, they've got to work out the kinks and they've got to set up their business entity. So I do not expect them to bring us 250,000 gallons a day, quite honestly. There's going to be a ramp up to that.
So when it's up and
They have projected that they could ramp up in 6 months. This is what they have told me.
Okay. Did they give you estimates of what we could possibly bring in a month in a profit gross-wise?
Well, that's not really their.
Okay.
We're treating the wastewater as a
Okay.
result of their process. Their process in of itself is their own private entity, so any revenues they make in fees just treating the fog, that's separate. They're giving us the wastewater.
Yeah, and I just remember the reason why I have an interest in this, because I thought last year, once this is operational and it's where it needs to be, I thought it was like an 87% profit, almost like $100,000 a month for the town. Am I wrong with the numbers?
It could be quite substantial based on these numbers.
Well, if they're doing 250,000 gallons a day at that
that's-
percentage rate, if it's 20 days in a calendar month, they're bringing in the guaranteed 250,000 gallons. It's maybe about 70,000 in profitability.
They're operating 6 days a week. They're not a
days a week, so
they're not a
it's even
7-day a week operation. So they're operating 6 days a week.
I'm going back
I
to
don't
my
know how
old
many
notes.
6
That's why
days,
I have an
260 days.
I just want to add that we're already collecting rent from them, and you'll see it in the budget as an additional line item in the revenue for about $162,000. We're already been getting money from them. Okay, that on a separate. That's independent of what she's talking.
Okay, and last year, were we going to be replacing or we were going to hire a number 2 person that had a specialty in that area with the sewer treatment plant? Because I know we put a salary for like $100,000, and we're trying to find somebody with expertise to assist that one gentleman that was here. Phil. Yeah, because he was saying that he wanted to hire someone with all those certifications. Whatever happened with that?
I know at the finance meeting, I did advise, and I did put it on our bullet points, that Phil will be retiring
May
at the end of
31st.
the month. And we are looking into having our own sewer superintendent. So that's a work in progress.
Okay, but I remember when Phil was here, that he thought that it would be best for the town to hire this other person with the certification. Maybe you could elaborate on that.
I will. What
I mean,
Phil
he
was
said it during
talking
his
about
testimony, that's
is a process supervisor.
Okay.
Okay. The process supervisor specifically would not oversee the fog operation. That is the fog people or lantern to do that.
Okay.
What Phil was referencing is monitoring our waste receiving station.
Okay.
Okay. In essence, the transformation of our old 4MGD facility.
Okay. So are we in the process of still hiring that person? Because I know he recommended it. That's the reason I'm asking.
No. At this point in time, it's important that the township evaluate where we are on the market and our competitiveness in grabbing some of that market share. So before investing big dollars in capital improvements and additional manpower, we put out an RFP to have a full value engineering report with regard to where our competitors are, where our plan is, what could we use in our existing infrastructure, okay, and then bring in alternative waste to treat.
Okay, here's the only concern. Again, I'm learning the process, and I have a lot of interest in it, which I'm going to get a lot more involved with, especially I know when it could bring revenue to the town. The question I have is, we budgeted for that guy's salary last year.
It's not in there.
Okay, so what did we do with his salary last year, though?
It lapses.
So how much was that, like 100,000 in surplus?
I don't recall what it was.
Okay.
Was it 85?
85, yeah.
Okay.
So, based on the new supervisor we hire in-house, are we still to get somebody that should have that expertise, or?
You know what, Councilman, I think it's important when our new superintendent comes on board to give he or she the opportunity to truly evaluate the vision for our plan, to really get them involved in understanding where our plan is at. I mean, we're taking the necessary steps in order to, get the proper value engineering reports for us so that we can make good educated decisions. We're certainly not going to expend dollars that will not give us a good return on our investment.
No, I agree with what you're saying, but we have to pass a budget and improve expenses. So I wish that person was here now that would be running the facility, but we have to make some tough decisions on, are we going to make the investment? Because we had a gentleman here who I met for the first time, was highly educated and explained in great detail how the process works. And it would have been nice if he retired, wherever it happened to him, because he went into great detail why we need that second person here. Because I'm going by my notes from last year. So, again, if you're telling
Well, there's
me,
no process really to be managed. That process is not in existence.
yeah, but my point of what I'm asking, and I'm not trying to get argumentative, he was explaining to us that this particular gentleman was needed based on his expertise, and we budgeted $100,000 or what it was for that salary. We didn't hire that person. So my concern is, I'm just hoping that we have the right direction moving forward, because we have to deal with a budget. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Okay. And I don't know who you are. I'm not sure. I never met you before. I have no idea who you are.
Okay. I'm Frank Lorito, Assistant Superintendent, the Sewer Utility.
Okay.
Keep the mic close, Frank.
Okay. That position was basically, once that 4 MGD plant was running, to feed it into the main plant. You can't that's what the process was, to run that plant.
And Frank, just to let you know, again, what was it, Phil that was here last year?
Right.
I really never knew too much about the treatment plant at all, but I found it very interesting because of all the technology that was going to go into it. And again, we budgeted for a position, and obviously the position didn't get filled, and that gentleman's gone now.
Right.
I just want to make
Okay,
sure that
here's
we're
the
going to get money in return.
Here's the thing. Here's what you're missing, because we're telling you in pieces.
Okay.
When Phil was here, I think, and Paula, and I don't know whether Frank was here, but at the meeting, he had a vision of many things to be changed.
'cause
One
he
of
went to
which was
detail.
fog, and one of which was the MGD plant.
Yes.
The MGD plant didn't happen because what had happened when I came in and in conversation with Paula as the utility director, we sat down and we said, the information to build an MGD plant was 5 years old. And as we know in science and technology, the changes rapidly. And what Paula is communicating is that instead of moving forward with just go ahead, do this plant, do this, hire this guy, we are now going out for a study on to whether how important it will be for our utility, our sewer utility, to have the MGD plant. So that's where we are. So there will be time because, as you know, in the budget, there will be money budgeted for the new person. What Phil was, being compensated for. And the thing is, there is time for that individual, because it's going to take us time to find the right individual, the head person now, to take care of this and analyze as we're doing the studies to see if the MGD plant needs to be done. There's other things that are happening there. The expansion of the fog system, if it's working out well for us. So I think the decisions that you need to make, or the one decision that we need to make, is we want to replace. I think the mayor's on board, Paula is on board, I think the utility is on board, Ann's on board, and here's what we'd like you to be on board with is we'd like to keep in-house, have our own superintendent that is Parsippany's person to run that. And there's a group of qualified people out there. We just need to find the right person. So we're in the process of putting that documentation together as to go out and find that right person. Okay. And what Paula is saying is, instead of trying to, as I said to Ann, she needs a second, but before we just hire somebody, when she was learning it a little bit and getting her feet wet, I said the person would be like looking here, what can I do? What should I do? How can I help you? When you're trying to find your way. So it's worked out. I mean, she's lost, she used to be 6 foot tall, but she's working hard on that finance, and it's working.
And just to let you know, I'm happy that things are going in the right direction. I thought the fog would have been up and operational already based on when we got the brief from Phil last year on the budget, and then again, hiring that person with that expertise. That's why I'm asking these questions based on the notes I had taken. So that's why I was just concerned of what's going on.
We're very pleased. We're very pleased that, as Paula said, June 15th, once they got really moving on it, they hit the pavement running, no pun intended, and I was even shocked when I had called down to Phil one day and I said, well, why can't we do the sidewalk work down there in-house? And he said because they were hopeful to be up and running by the end of May. So June 15th, it really turned around quickly. They really stepped up, and Paula and I, not too long ago with Frank and Phil, attended a fog meeting, and they're having very good reception from, what we're fats, oil, and grease, and our location with the New York area and the Pennsylvania area, we are ideal, and they have signed many contracts already or in place to treat this waste.
And just one other question. You said there was a company that's going to be operating that facility, or they purchased it. Was Lantern, you said?
That's what.
Yeah,
Where are
passed.
they out of? I've heard that before, that company. Are they global or?
No. Lantern Environmental is an LLC. The council passed a resolution for us to enter into a lease agreement with AP Construction. Lantern Environmental is the operator of the FOG. The leaseholder is AP Construction.
Okay.
It's very involved, but.
That's why I was just, because when you mentioned that name, it just sounds like I've heard that name somewhere else before besides just now. Okay.
I'm sure they'd appreciate it if they thought they were globally known.
Well, I just wasn't sure. Where's this company out of, this LLC? Where are they actually out of?
Good question. They operate under AP Construction. As far as the township is concerned, AP Construction takes all the financial liability associated with their lease and whatnot. Lantern Environmental is a limited liability corporation. I don't know their address offhand.
Do you know who the owner of that is, of that LLC? That's is it in there?
I don't even know what they're hired. What is Peter?
It's got to be.
Michael is the main
It
operator.
has to be in a document someplace because we did.
Yeah, you can get back to
We
us
did
on that.
discuss.
Yeah, but somebody, if you could get back to that, yeah. Okay. For some reason, I was thinking
I'm
like
concerned
foreign
about
investors or
the
something. I've heard that
leaseholders
name
whom
before.
I'm concerned with.
I just want to.
Phil impressed me too when he was talking about this special technician that.
That's why I was, because I was really,
Yeah.
that's not my background. I'm like,
And
wow,
not
this
to
is
say
money.
that won't become, in the future, but right now, we're going to take the
okay.
necessary steps to do it
I'm
prudently.
just saying
and-
that he sold us last year.
Oh,
on
he
this
did. I was
special
impressed.
technician.
Well, keep that sale going then. Keep the sale going, because we may present it
I
next
took
year.
copious notes on
All right.
Phil, so that's what I was asking. I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Phil was very passionate and still is, and even though he'll be, retiring in May, I have had a conversation with him as a business administrator and as a person who talks if someone is ready to leave. He said, I'm only a phone call away because he so believes in this operation.
I just don't want us to lose some money. That's my biggest concern. That's all.
I just wanted, Joanne did research. Lantern Environmental, the CEO is Peter Burley. They use our address. However, Peter Burley is also a CEO of renewable energy in Caldwell? Fairfield, sorry, Fairfield.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Paula, on Division 700, I'm looking at page 1 of 3, Object Code 270, Consulting Services. Is that the gentleman, Phil, from last year? He's still consulting?
Yes, those are consulting services. We do use, this is what I believe engineering environmental services is charged to, correct, Joanne? EES? Yes. We do use an environmental engineer, EES, to do a lot of evaluations, so that fee will come out of there. And yes, that is where our sewer superintendent's salary did come out of as well. And
That will be modified to reflect the direction in which we'll be going.
It will, okay.
Yes.
Because I was thinking we're over budgeting for it then, if that's the case. But,
In the right place.
okay, so that'll be adjusted then. Well, a question on the computer technology, Object Code 261, 262, computer hardware finance system as well. I see that we adopted a budget last year for a significant amount, and we only expended a lower dollar amount, but we're going back to asking for the full amount that we asked for the prior year. Why is there a difference in what was expended versus what we budgeted for last year, and do we really need it?
I don't even, I think, did we pay anything off? Joanne, do you have any insight into that one? I think we might have paid something, yeah.
That changes all the time because of our SCADA system, which is... That amount changes all the time due to our SCADA system. The SCADA system is what monitors the plant. It's all technology. Technology changes all the time. We also... I'm Joanne Mancuso. I'm the administrative assistant at the sewer plant. There's... all right, I'm just writing here. Computer repairs and upgrades. Everyone, the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, myself, and whoever is going to be doing our IT work will need a 64-bit computer in order to monitor the plant from their office at all times. Right now we're running 32 bits in 2 offices and 64 in 2 offices. We have 3 more offices to upgrade. Those computers are about $6,000 to $7,000 a piece without the software. So that's why we left the budget basically the same, because not every year will we spend it all. It just depends on what software we need to upgrade and what computers we need to upgrade year to year to keep the system running.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have a question on item, object code 343 and 786. Actually, it's the line below 786 where it says contribution to current fund. It would be on page 3 of 3. It's object code 343.
Yeah, Ann, you want to speak to that? 1.2 million?
Because last year it was 155,000.
Yeah.
It's going up to 1.2 million.
Well, I'll just tell it. I'm not sure what happened last year, but in previous years, the contribution to the current fund was $700,000 a year. Last year, for some reason, I'm not sure, I wasn't here, they budgeted $155,000. So to make it even, or right the ship, as we've been saying, we took, if you add 700 and 700, it's $1.4 million, less 155 is around $1.2 million. Just to right the ship for this year.
And how about 343, the health insurance claim and premium
Same kind of,
expense?
it has to do with the allocations, okay?
Okay.
Skewed completely wrong, number of employees.
Okay.
You'll see that throughout.
Anything employee contribution, I'll knock that down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's where they're at.
When Brian said the employee contribution is going to knock that figure down, are we going to know how much that's going to knock down?
Yes.
Before next meeting? Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we discussed with the health benefit with regard to the Tier 2 with the police department, and that's over 2 years, so that would be year 14 and 15, and that was one of the things we discussed at the finance meeting. We got deeper into that discussion about how much you would utilize to draw it down and save some for, not the rainy day, but 2016. So, we'll be... Those numbers will be what will work together to come to a fair and equitable utilization of funding to get the budget flat, or close to flat.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions?
No.
We'll move on to the capital. 725 under sewer. Any questions? know we're using it.
Last year, we were talking about the new treatment process is so much more efficient. We have 2 vacant buildings. Is that the number? 2 of the buildings are no longer needed. We're going to try to repurpose the buildings. Is that still?
Well, the one vacant building is where the fog is now. The fog.
That's the fog now, okay. So it's repurposed for that.
I don't know. The second one would be the 4MGD plant, is what I'm thinking. I don't
Okay.
know the second.
But we did have 2 vacant buildings after the upgrade, right? No? Just the one?
No, we ended up with one empty building.
Okay.
It's very fascinating. Go visit.
Okay, moving on to Sharkey's landfill, 543.
Okay, that's me.
Just it says under salary and wages, Parks Department indirect, 15,000.
Okay, let me give you a little history on Sharkey's landfill. The township took responsibility for the operation of maintenance for Sharkey's landfill in, I believe, about 2000. It was a system of monitoring wells and extraction wells. The township had the ability to shut the extraction well system down in 2009. That didn't happen. I took the necessary action to shut it down last year, saving this township $90,000 out of the current fund. Essentially, the extraction wells were mothballed and put aside in the instance that we would ever have to need to engage them again, but right now it's monitored. The monitoring wells still stay in place. They do require quarterly reports, so that's why you see $10,000 in the Sharkey budget. As far as that $15,000, we're still responsible to ensure that we can walk on the property, so the grass needs to be cut. And that's why that money has been put in there in case Jimmy's guys need to come up and cut that. Quite honestly, that account has historically never been hit, I think once or twice, but it still needs to be there because we still are responsible for ensuring a safe pathway to our monitoring wells if the EPA wanted to come on our property to examine. Okay?
All right, any questions?
And yes, yep, and we maintain the roads, we keep tree branches out of the river. The name landfill connotes maybe something not so pretty, but let me tell you, that landfill is the most beautiful site you will enjoy. There's a bald eagle that lives on that landfill. We have a couple herons in our landfill. I don't know if you know, that is where the Whippany River and the Rockaway Rivers meet. I believe on the north side of the landfill. It is absolutely breathtaking to walk that landfill. So when you come and visit the plant, make another step to go to that landfill. I have pictures. It's just, it's fascinating to learn the history of it. And we're proud that the water that we treated, just so you know, the extraction wells was to treat the groundwater as a result of coming through that landfill. Those levels are way below EPA regulation, and that's why we're able to shut it down, and that's why we're able to save our taxpayers $90,000 a year going forward. Okay?
How long do you think the monitoring wells are going to be in place for?
Oh, I would imagine they would. I don't believe they would ever shut those
Probably
down.
forever, yeah.
Long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You know, the EPA does regulate the landfill in terms of, and they do support passive recreation on it. There's been some ideas floating around. I myself went skiing on a landfill when I was in college. So there are many things you can do with it. Just
I remember one time it was a soccer facility they wanted to put in, but remember that?
With a canoe launch. The canoe launch they want to put there too. Yeah.
the landfill, it's interesting. The side of the landfill that was used for PSE&G's operation through the indemnification agreement, we were able to actually make that property extremely rich. So if you're passing the plant on, what would that be, New Road?
Yes.
You
Becomes
look to your
Ridgedale.
right, it turns into Ridgedale. Look to your right, beautiful. PSE&G, we gave them the specs on how to, refurbish that. That's where they use to put in all those big monopoles. So, that also, that's not owned, it's interesting. It's not owned by the township, that land. It's owned by a private owner. However, we're still responsible for its operation and maintenance. That's why the township got involved. PSE&G did respect our cooperation and took care of the township well.
Do we earn any revenue from them utilizing the property?
They made the property more rich, and yes, they did give some monies. I was not involved initially when they put up that whole program. They did give the township more money, a pretty good amount of money. I don't know the number offhand. I want to say somewhere around $200 and something thousand for, Mayor, do you recall what that dollar amount was? Yeah.
Well, we inherited that obligation because when we built the sewer treatment plant, the township bought something like 4,000 square feet of Sharkey's landfill. So when that became a Superfund cleanup site, and the EPA was suing everybody that had any activity there, we became a part of the suit because of that small piece of land that we bought to build our sewer treatment plant. We were part of the suit. Some of the big companies paid hundreds of millions of dollars as a part of their settlement to get out of that with the EPA. Instead of us paying a lot of money, what we did was we agreed to monitor these wells, and that was our obligation. We paid no money, but we had to monitor these wells forever, and that's what we're doing. When Michael Luther was the mayor, and we had the old sewer treatment plant, he came here with a recommendation that we put solar panels on Sharkey's landfill, and we could save 10% of our electric bill. The sewer plant was the third largest user of electricity in the power company's grid. The sewer plant alone was the third largest user. And I had taken a tour with George Rankowitz several years earlier when George was telling me all the things that we should be doing at the plant to upgrade. And when he retired, he invited me one more time down there to look at it and told me that. So when I saw that, I bolted. I says, wait a minute. I said, we upgrade the plant, we can save 75%. Why are we gonna spend $8 million to put in solar panels and save 10%? Because if you spend $8 million and save 10%, you still have a 35-year-old plant that still needs to be addressed. So the council agreed with me, and that's why we went to upgrade the sewer treatment plant. Brankowitz was gone by then, though.
Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to open up the public hearing on the sewer utility. Sharkey's landfill. Motion made by Mr. Stanton.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Paluso. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I know.
Here we go.
Pat Pataccio, 182 Hawkins Avenue. Legal expenses were listed last year at $92,855 in the sewer department. What the heck is going on there? And the one thing I am going to talk about is the sewer surplus money being used again. Every year we use it. Every year we're up here saying, please don't use it. We sat here last year through the budget meeting. When it came time to discuss the sewer department and the sewer surplus money, Joe did tell us that it is not right to touch that money. You should not touch that money. And if he was here this year, it would have been the things he would have worked on. That this is not what you should be doing with surplus money. Okay? You all know they're self-sustaining. So self-sustaining means that money belongs to them. It doesn't belong to the town to take and use where it wants to. What we have to do is start working on doing a budget that does not take money away from the sewer surplus. Use that money, like Alan had said. Start paying off some of those bonds we have out there. Start doing some of that stuff. Okay? There's no reason why we have to keep using that money. That only means that we are not doing a good enough job in trying to control our budget. We have known that's been there for many years, and it's been used for many years, and it's been said it will be continued to be used. I don't like that. I don't like it at all. That's not what it's supposed to do. We have to get this down within a budget where we are not taking money from any entities and then bonding out for stuff they need. Okay? Start looking into the rights and wrongs. We're getting so much different information between
30 seconds.
Different CFOs, different business administrators. We're getting too much different information. So I think we better do some homework on that. Okay? And then just once again, there are things on the spreadsheet that you'll see there's been excessive amount of dollars out there that may not be necessary to have out there. Just please read, do your due diligence, look it over. But really, once again, I will say totally disgusted on using the sewer surplus money. And I understand that it's not coming out of my taxes. I do understand that. Okay, but that's already my tax dollars that went there. Okay? I understand it's going to reduce my taxes. Okay, but it's really still money that should not have been used. No matter whether it just proves that we are doing something wrong in this town, that we are not doing something right, that we have to keep going and taking surplus.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Okay.
Yes.
Actually, I wasn't even going to bring that up.
Please state your name and address.
Yeah, Jonathan Nelson, 202 Patriots Road. Just two really short questions. Last year, you approved in the capital budget the Powder Mill Road pump station improvement. Just did they ever bond for that, and has that project been completed or started? Yeah, I think Powder Mill Pump Station 3.
That rebuild is a result of a impending construction project.
What does that mean?
There is an application to build additional homes, so part of that application will require the applicant to upgrade that powder mill station.
Okay,
So
the town won't be doing it.
No, initially, that upgrade, I believe, initially was, Joanne, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that as a result of the Skyview failure? Yeah.
No, because this was
no, this is, okay, go ahead, finish.
Because that was in the budget before the Skyview failed.
No,
The Powder Mill,
believe it or
Powder
not,
Mill pump
Skyview
station?
failed in 2013, I believe.
Yeah, just let him finish with his. Wait, we should let him finish with his question so that we don't use up his time.
That's it on that. The other one was just on Sharkey, so we might as well just finish that.
Skyview originally failed, and correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, in 2007. The second time. It failed once prior before that, which resulted in work being done, which has resulted us in looking and upgrading that pump station. In 2012, Skyview failed again.
Right.
And if you notice, this was put into last year's budget in order to upgrade that pump station to take care of Skyview.
Right. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So, but in the meantime, there's been applications out there to put a development in up in that area. So if we don't have to expend our dollars in order to upgrade that pump station, and we can put it onto the builder, because now he is adding to our sewer system, that's what we would look at doing.
Okay. I just didn't realize that.
Skyview happened a while ago.
Right. I didn't think Skyview had anything to do with the Powder Mill one because they're not connected to the same. They are connected with? Okay. Okay. So do we have a bond for it? That was just my follow-up question. No? Okay. And then the other one is just is really tiny. It's just regarding Sharkey's. I think last year was the second 5-year reevaluation on the Sharkey's landfill, and I think one of the requirements is just a simple one, just that the report has to be sent to the library and updated on the town's website. I don't know if the EPA sends it to the library or to the town, but if we could just get that, because the first one is just an interesting document.
Mm-hmm. It is on our website.
The 2014 one?
The 5-year review is on our website.
For 2014?
That is required. That was required in order for me to be able to actually shut down the extraction well system.
Okay. So the 2014 is up there now?
That is that was the year of the, I believe, the year of the
the second 5-year.
Yeah.
Second 5-year.
I don't know offhand. I'm pretty sure it's. I don't even know if it's dated, but.
Yeah, it was 2014. It was
Yeah.
last year.
Last year it was put up. Yep.
Okay. The last one I saw was 2009.
Well, 2009 every 5 years, so 2009. So 2014 is when they redo it, and then that allows me to shut down the landfill.
Right.
That is part of the process.
No, that's not what I'm asking. I know it was the second 5-year.
Okay, the report
was
is from 2014.
Right. And I'm just asking when that will be provided to the public from the town.
Oh, it's on the website. What do you mean?
Right. The 2009 is still up. The 2014 one is not. That's
It
all.
should be up. I posted it.
Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong. I didn't see it.
Yeah, it's on there. Actually, Bill Westhoven questioned it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And that's it.
Okay, see no one else come forward. Entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Make a motion.
Do it after this. Do it
Yeah,
after we close.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Stanton. Second. Seconded by Mr. Paluso. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
I'm going to respond to the sewer surplus and why. First of all, I will state this in public. I started using the sewer surplus back in 2011. I don't have an issue with using it. We're allowed to use a certain percentage of the sewer surplus. Back in 2011, it's important to know the history, because in 2011 we got hit, of course, with a 2% cap, and we lost a significant amount of state aid. Now, at that time, we decided to use $700,000 towards taking the sewer surplus into the general fund. Okay? Now, I don't have an issue using it. You're giving money back to the residents. And at the same time, you're lowering their tax levy. And at the same time, you get to maintain your services. Now, in 2011, we didn't do that. In the township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, we would have had some problems because we never knew there was going to be a Hurricane Irene. We were actually at that time looking at laying off close to 9 police officers and maybe 20 DPW workers because of the cap. And we had to be under it, or we had to go to vote. You know how it works. Well, I used it in that year. But what I will say, past mayors did use it. I know Mayor Peoria used it. He used it in 90, 91, 92, 93, and then when he wasn't there in 94, it wasn't used. But in 95, there was water surplus used into the general fund. You know, one thing I will say about the sewer treatment plant, and I'm proud to say, and Councilman DePiero, you stated, thank God it is healthy, and thank God it's back on to being healthy, because in 2005 it almost ran at a deficit because it was being mismanaged, the sewer treatment plant. It was mismanaged for years. It wasn't being updated. There was no maintenance towards it. So we got in 1995, 2005, and in 2006, those rates had to be increased by 52%. The mayor then, it wasn't his fault, Mayor Luther, but if you don't maintain, you don't use a sewer surplus in a smart way, we do. And I have no issue using it. I would have used more last year. And going forward, if it's healthy, we maintain, we put it back into the sewer treatment plant as we've done, and we upgrade. And then you've heard just what you just heard about. We're looking at the sewer surplus to hopefully not have to bond as much, pay off the debts, do some capital improvements. But at the same time, here's what I will say: if you give a rebate back, okay, remember one thing: when you give a rebate back, you also got to give it back to the commercial properties. And at the same time, that would significantly lower the amounts of money that the residents would get. But if you give it back in the form of bringing it to the general fund, you will reduce that tax levy by whatever the percentage it is, which would be more, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, Ann, you would get more back if you gave the residents the 1.2 million back in the general fund, as opposed to giving them a rebate check back. So at the same time, we lowered the tax levy, $1.2 million towards it. I don't have an issue. I'd use more. But
Mr. Mayor, just a clarification, if I may. When you said mismanagement at the plant, I'm sure you did not mean the workers at the plant. You
no,
mean,
what I mean by
you mean
mismanagement,
the administration,
the past administrations,
the past
didn't,
administrations were not
right? They
upgrading
didn't
the plant.
upkeep
All right.
the sewer treatment
Okay.
plant back in 2002.
I knew what you meant. I just wanted
Yeah,
to
I don't think
clarify.
I was on the council at the time, or maybe I was just in the beginning
I
stages.
was.
There was a study done for the sewer treatment plant then, and that study, well, we never received it, but when I became the mayor, I got a copy of that. That plant should have been upgraded back in 2002. So, in closing, because I know everybody's tired, I could see.
Mayor, before you close, though, one of the things you told me, and so I know the history of what goes on, not only did you raise the rates, but didn't they take money from what? They took money from the current fund to help. So that's
Yeah, they
what,
put the current fund back into the sewer treatment plant, because we
We're
would have
saying
ran into a
right the ship.
deficit. Our deficit would have been $28,000. So, anyway, I personally, between you and I, ladies and gentlemen, I have no issue using the sewer surplus as long as we use the amounts that we're allocated and allowed to use. But remember, if you don't use the $1.2 million, the tax levy will increase.
And the other point you should make is that the amount we're taking, we're still leaving a sufficient surplus
Yeah.
where the bonding
And that's
company's not
true.
going to be
And
concerned.
here's what's great about the sewer treatment plant. Over the course of time, as you heard, the fog is going to be coming on. We're going to have an incinerator coming on. Over the course of time, we're going to reevaluate it. We're going to say, okay, can we lower the rates? Eventually, as time goes on, we're going to be able to lower the rates for the residents once all the repairs and all the renovations are completely done. So going into the future, you'll be able to lower the rates, and of course, the ratepayer is going to get charged less, and at the same time, we have a state-of-the-art plant. And who knows, who ever thought, any of us would be sitting there talking about the sewer treatment plant like a gold mine, but it is, and it's running efficiently. I give all the men and even the woman down there credit. The woman, all right, down there. And if we have an opportunity, like we have with the sewer treatment plant here, we didn't in the past. And probably that's one of the reasons why we didn't use sewer surplus. There was none there to use.
Yeah, that's right.
So, anyway.
It's too bad we can't pump the wastewater back up to the knoll and water the knoll with the wastewater.
Well, you know what, Mike? It goes right back in the river, so yeah, it's pretty close. I
That-
think you consider it potable water, Frank, or close
That
to-
water, well, I won't drink it, but that water is cleaner than the water in the river. Yeah. Yeah. It's just too bad we can't pump it back up there.
You guys want
Okay, thanks. Okay, let's moving on to legal expenses. Divisions 090 and insurance 110.
Same here, thank you.
Take care. Thank you for coming.
Oh, good night.
Any questions?
Let you know they're taking pictures of you. Those two, stand up. Mr. Maturity.
If there's no questions, entertain a motion to open up the public hearing on legal expenses and insurance.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Stanton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
He's taking you crutch. Yeah, here he is. Here.
It's the public.
Mr. Maturity.
Let me give you the sheet.
He's taking pictures of him with his
Yes,
crutches.
legal and insurance.
What?
Legal and insurance.
Yeah, they don't do that with his crutches.
No.
He's doing
No,
it.
it's
Both
insurance.
of them. Both of them.
Page, yeah.
Could I just see the insurance, the health? I bring this up every, no. Yeah, that's, what did we budget? Yeah, go
So
ahead.
here, guys, in the stack board.
Oh, wait.
This is, yeah, this is,
Too early, police.
give me a second, guys. This is,
You got 30 left, so you're good.
it's too,
He said he's got 30 seconds
No, he said
left.
give him a second. He said he's got 30 left. 20. 15.
All right.
guys, go to line Roy Messmer, 10 Drumlin Drive. Go to line 343 on page 1 of 1, division 110. All right. I can remember last year I was sitting over there when I asked Jasmine Lim this question. We're self-insured. We budgeted in 2014 $7.3 million. We spent 3.2. Now, I know what, not you got, not the 5 council, but the administration is going to say, well, it doesn't include all the bills because doctor bills, hospital bills come in 2-3 months later. But there's no way they're going to come to $4 million. And now in this year, 2015, budget request 6.9, mayor's budget 6.9. I mean, I don't know how else that something's wrong here. Somebody's got to explain this to me. How you can encumbered $3 million in 2014, now you want to make it $7 million. Exactly what Jasmine Lynn did last year, and Mike DiPiero said, I agree with Jasmine when I asked this question, we should encumber for the worst scenario. And my retort to that, well, then we're going to do that, then we might as well encumber gasoline to the worst scenario, like after Katrina. But I'm going to be quiet right now. Somebody explain this to me. How can we have only spent, because we're self-insured, $3 million, but you're budgeting $7 million? It's a nice cushion.
Someone shut it off?
I wasn't on all that time?
Turned it off. I'm good, I think. I'll talk to the health insurance. It's very unique here because of the self-funded. Part of what you're right about the $3 million because it's missing 2.5 months worth of bills in there. That's one of the reasons why I didn't care
Man,
for
it can't come to $4 million.
it. Does not. However, we've established a reserve, and the reason why we're establishing that reserve is because when you're self-funded, we have to pay that money. Let's say we decide not to be self-funded anymore. We still have to pay the money. So Ray Sarinelli has recommended that we keep the numbers somewhat consistent as to the past to build up that reserve for if we do not stay with the self-funded program. So that's why we put that in there. That 6.9. Now, you'll notice realize that of the 6.9, there's going to be a total employee offset of 1.1 million dollars being paid in from the employees, which is not reflected here at the moment. It will be in. We're going to be showing all that with the final.
I don't think I got any answers there, but
Well,
I mean, I know all about self-insurance. I'm the one that even described it to everybody. I've had offshore insurance policies, different companies I've been involved in, but we're self-insured onshore here. It just to me that not just this administration or prior administrations, it's a nice cushion. Because if let's just say it's $1 million that you haven't encumbered yet. You haven't written it. Hold on a second. It's May. Of course we have.
Yeah, but my
You should know
question
the
is,
real number by
what
now.
happened? I don't know the real number because it's self-insured. I mean, we have people sick, people not sick. We're paying the bills. We pay it a month or two later when we get the bills. What happens if we do not become if we don't establish a reserve? Honestly, where are we going to get the money from? For these items that come up afterwards. This could go on for years.
I got to ask Mike, because the mayor wasn't the mayor and I don't think he was on council. How long have we been self-insured now, Mike? Was it just Luther?
No, Mimi.
Mimi was
No,
with
no.
the state?
Luther went to self-insurance.
Right. Mimi was with the state program.
Yeah, Luther went to
So-
self-insurance because that's
We're
when the
talking-
council lost their insurance.
And I think Ada and Graham came in here Luther's second year.
Yeah.
Let's just say, let's be conservative. So 3 years, 4 years, 8 years. Because this is Mayor Barbario's second term, second year in the second term. We have a track record here. So there's no way we've been spending this kind of money, Mike.
We're trying to. We're doing what the auditor suggested. This is recommended.
Auditors are not business people. All auditors do is they
Well,
ask you your financial statements.
Well, no,
what
that's not
auditors
true.
do. Yeah.
That's not true. I beg, Roy, I get it. I totally understand, but
Right,
that's not
I have to
true.
admit, I've always thought that we need the cushion for unanticipated problems that could arise.
And what we're trying to do,
And it's hard to define an unanticipated.
what we're trying to do is, we are going to establish that reserve. Okay, which means, well, let me tell you what, it's a dedicated reserve. It's not thrown into fund balance. And the reason why we're doing that is so that we don't have to budget to the max. But it's not established at this point.
But Aunt, where's this money sitting right now? I mean,
What money?
The cushion.
The cushion.
The cushion, last year's cushion.
The cushion last year is in it,
Last
we
year's,
put it in a reserve.
It's 8 years, 7 years.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we started the.
So what's the reserve? What's the
I started
reserve
it-
up to right now, though? Because I noticed like the last couple of years, there's been extra, millions extra.
I don't.
So
I have to look at
is
the
that like
total
10,
number.
15 million in reserve?
I have to look at the audit. I know that we did do that last year. We did, as of the end of the year,
Right.
put money into the reserve. And I have to, as a matter of fact, that was one of the comments.
I think
I'll
even,
have that for
even
you.
the year before that, we had millions.
Yeah,
that
I'll
went
give
to
you the
reserve.
number. It's not a
And when-
huge amount of money, to
Just
be honest.
suggestion when we're doing our, when we're sitting
That's
down,
one of the-
just have it all out there so we have an idea.
Sure.
you know.
And again, just, I'm sorry that I'm not on your, can you hold his time? What I want.
He's actually,
His time is over?
About 6 minutes ago, but go ahead.
Oh, okay, okay. No, what I was gonna,
I need you recorded. I need you recorded.
what I was saying was, what I was going to say is, because now I hear we're into June for the information, we're going to put together some scenarios, some things that you've already talked about that hint at where some of the cost savings can be. And one of the things is those kinds of numbers, like, for example, the number we talked about, how much money of the Tier 2 are we going to use for the police? In this case, it'll be what we have and have some input also from our auditor, Ray, to give us a comfort level. So that's, and that's, Ann writes down all these different things. So you'll get that before, say, maybe, I'm thinking by the end of May, you'll have a lot of the concerns and issues, spelled out, and so you can take What?
I
Stop.
by tomorrow morning, she said. What she said.
All right, you will have that so that when we do sit down. Right.
I thought Mike said that.
I'm going to pass it.
Okay.
No, I appreciate it because these are a lot of concerns.
Right behind you.
I agree.
And again,
Ann.
to be honest,
Ann. Pat's going to want to talk next.
Oh, it's going back.
No, she's going to want to talk next.
Was Roy done? I'm not sure Roy was done.
He was done with his time about it.
Yeah, but they took all his time.
It's on.
I tried to give you more time. I told you.
But-
Go ahead.
But Ellen, this is a dedicated fund. So not just this administration, no administration can ever touch that money?
Correct.
It's not like the sewer and the
No,
golf.
absolutely not.
So then,
Absolutely
I think
not.
the council, I'm requesting the council president ask you for next, by Tuesday, where is this money and how much is it?
Yeah, no, she said.
I said
They're gonna
that's
get
what I
it.
just
They're gonna
said.
get it
See,
first.
I was listening to you, so.
Thank you, Roy.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. He abused me. Parsippany-Troy, 182 Hawkins Avenue. The one thing that you guys, who's beeping? Oh, it's phone over here, yeah. The things I hear is Luther did this one did that, blah blah blah. But you know what really makes me laugh? Is that it's always been a Republican council, so you gave them the authority to do what they did. So stop blaming other people. You went self-insured. You guys were Republicans up there. You went with it. I'm just saying, but I'm just saying, you know, every time you're sitting there, you're saying this, that, and the other thing.
So they had a chance to be blaming us.
No. Now, I do have a question here, and I'm really upset. Object Code 359, Township Attorney.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, budgeted for 420,000.
Oh.
Saying he encumbered 486,000. When his 1099 had
There's
822,000.
different sections that have legal.
What?
There's different sections that have legal. That's where
Okay,
it
well,
is.
you see, this is the problem.
There's these
So
secret
maybe
codes.
at the end of the budget, you know, the last page.
It's true, though.
No, it's just, you know, okay, because it makes you look like, you know, you're not telling. I know it's all over, but you know, maybe with the lawyers' fees, maybe next year's budget, the last page can just put all the lawyers' fees on one thing, so we can look at it and just be more. Yeah, because that was, you know, I was going to come up there.
Notice, I think she gets because you have labor, you have everything going on.
It's in
Yeah.
sewer, it's in water, it is
No,
an
for
open
this
space.
one.
Yeah, and we just, yeah.
And it's, you know, there's gonna be numbers that.
And there's going to be some legal that's not is, but
Yeah,
and that and the other thing.
You have the judges, you have the prosecutors.
Yeah.
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 I mean, you have also, even on here, the tax appeals.
Tax
Yeah.
appeals, yep.
Mhm.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right.
That was easy.
Is it a bad one, right?
That was easy.
All right.
I'll tell you what later.
I know, you're probably going to think I was going to come up
Don't use up
here.
her time.
Somebody was. It was either you or Roy. So I had an hour down, but I picked you.
Just opened my eyes back there. I woke up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, see no one else come forward, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Mr. Stanton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on to salary and wage discussion.
I thought it was
It's on the agenda.
Well, I gotta ask, is now the
Doesn't
time
say.
to bring up 452 ambulance services, or am I holding off?
You know, depending on.
I'll hold off, sounds good.
Yeah.
No, yeah. No, that's fine. I just saw it was on the schedule.
It's on there.
It's on our schedule.
No, you're gonna like what I'm gonna say.
All right.
Because I think Lou and Brian, it's time. We said it at the finance meeting, there's a certain point to get to a meeting and to talk about the lifeblood of a working operation, which is our people. I think that should be for another time.
Sounds
But
good.
what
I
I
agree.
would like to ask for, it should be a give and take. Can you, give us some feedback from, so that when we do come to sit, many many hours of conversation, information that you need from us so that you can all make a better decision in June. If I can get that, so we'll be transparent.
Yeah, that's reasonable. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Well, you know
Absolutely.
what? And I'll tee it up in a written, we'll tee it up in a written way, but to talk about that.
I was just gonna say, could you try to get us the numbers for medical collected as soon as
Yeah, oh, no,
possible?
that'll
That'll
happen
happen.
And
Tuesday.
what
That's
impact
the
that's
next
going to
Tuesday.
have on the...
That'll have a big thing
Yeah.
towards.
All right, great. Thank you. Okay.
I think they did.
Yeah, I think they did.
Oh, finance, before.
Oh, yeah, we'll set that.
That's how we'll set it up.
We'll set that up.
I kind of want to put on the record, I think maybe we should also do is sit down with the
Hold on,
finance
yeah.
committee meeting, is also say, okay, listen, the sewer treatment plan is going to prosper. It's inevitable, right? And maybe what are goals and objectives to say, what's going to be reasonable? Can we use a quarter of it for what you have planned on doing now? A quarter of it, say, play down bonding, you know what I mean? So maybe we got to be realistic about that.
Why don't I,
Yeah,
I still
okay.
have to open up the public hearing, so we'll just do that. That's okay. It's all right. All right, at this time, I entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion.
Motion made by Mr. Paluso, seconded by Mr. Stanton.
You'll
All
be
in
given
favor?
8 seconds to speak.
Okay.
Don't shut it off.
Once you shut it off, yeah, start to turn it on. Don't shut
This
it
one
off.
is going to cause a problem. I'm going to have some enemies tomorrow, not you, Mayor. Because I know it wasn't I don't know when it started. Came to my attention a number of years ago, but I didn't have the time to bring it up. We have 4 or 5 married couples in town that work for the town, maybe same department. We reimburse those couples for the insurance they don't use. But if we're self-insured, how are we using insurance? How do you come up with that dollar amount that you're giving back to that married couple? Council, administration, I think that should be eliminated. I don't think those 4 or 5 married couples, maybe it's 6 now, should be entitled to that reimbursement. There's
Let him
enough of
fin-
a
wait, let him
perk-
finish.
What?
Let him finish.
There's enough of a perk. They've got a Cadillac program to begin with. There's something else I wanted to say, but I'm lost. That's it.
Just real quick, there is a breakdown number per individual, so if you do not offer the payback, they're each going to take the insurance. They're not going to give it up. It's going to cost a lot more money. Same thing countywide. Yes.
Yeah.
Whether we're self-insured or through the state insurance house.
Still break down to per
But
head.
how do you come up with that dollar amount if we're self-insured?
No, it's
Formula that the,
it's fixed, maxed out at
Is it like-
5,000, and then we do reduce from there.
It's like
It's
a
maxed
steep-
out
you
by
have to go
law
right.
at 5. But most people don't get that much. It's a whole formula on how it works.
It's petty.
Husband, wife,
Yeah.
Yeah, but what,
yes.
Yeah, depending on what your insurance is. Because
Yes.
everybody negotiate different plans
It's
too.
usually about 1/5.
yeah, but Brian, this is where I'm confused. If we're self-insured, how are we paying
There's still
more?
a breakdown per head, even though you're self-insured. If the fee's $6 million, you have this many employees, it's still an $18,000 per head or $28 per family.
Right, yeah.
So if you don't offer that and they stick in the insurance, much more. They're getting like 1/5
Yeah.
by opting out.
So we're benefited by not
By
paying the full
far.
amount.
By
Yeah.
far.
By-
It's not worth for the employee opting out either.
Mhm.
No.
Because if we didn't give them that change, they could say
They keep it.
we're obligated to give them that full benefit.
Yes.
Yep.
Now we're both going to have family coverage.
Yeah. And it's wise courtesy.
Good. Wait, hold on.
1997?
I think so. Please check that,
Yeah, because this totally defeats all coordination of benefits, all insurance stuff that was on years ago.
We felt it was a win-win because I had the case where I had a couple in Denville and I was paying just the husband. And because the lady who worked in finance came in later and they took me to PERC and said, I want my full benefits. And I went to the state and I said, I even said to them, can I please just give her like some money so that she's covered under him and just get, and they said, back then they told me, no, I had to pay her full benefits and him full benefits. So I was happy the state finally, 3 years later, heard that, oh, maybe that could be fair to the people and fair to the community, that we don't have to pay them
double benefits.
Plus those that are a couple
Yes.
now, the other one doesn't have to pay in, so it's
Yes.
actually well worth it.
Well
In the
worth it.
past, it wasn't worth it at
Yes, it
all.
wasn't correct.
So now it does make it
Well,
worth it.
insurance was never meant for anybody to profit off of, number one. I just had insurance over the years. I don't know if you guys know it. I worked in medical insurance for 25 years. And it's just ridiculous to do something like that. With all the insurance that I did from day one when I was 18 years old and started that job, you had your coordination of benefits. You had to coordinate benefits. If one had it and one didn't want it, that was it. You just stuck with the one. Nobody got reimbursed for anything. Once again, it's our generation giving people stuff that they're asking for and trying to get that they really shouldn't be getting. I mean, this is what costs everybody money.
Still saving money in the end.
I know we're saving money in the end, but to me, this is just pure greed. This is just, if people would just go back to the normal way of life and just start doing stuff, just trying to be honest and just say, hey, I got insurance with my husband, that's fine. I don't need the insurance with the other place. That's what we used to
That's
do
called
back
wishful
when.
thinking.
Yeah, I know.
That's how it used to
No, I
work,
know.
Brian.
I know, not anymore.
That's how it used to work.
Especially now that people are paying in, which they were
Oh,
back
yeah.
then. They're definitely not going to give it up.
No.
Yeah.
So,
Did
no.
anybody catch the Millennium Kids? It's a goof on YouTube. It's actually showing you the kids of today coming in for jobs. It's very frightening, especially when they say, "Oh, that wasn't in the job description. I'm getting up. I'm leaving." But they sit there. Oh, conference call at 9:30. Oh no, can't get there until 10. Yeah. But it's just
That was.
it's just something that's a bad practice, and I just don't know what. It's not just this town. I know that it's everybody, but when does it stop? When do people like you
Wait, let her
guys
finish.
go down to the legislature and start bitching and moaning and get people to go with you? I'm picking on you two. You two go.
I'm joining in with
And I want you walking. What happened to that wellness plan? I did come up for something else.
Thank you.
All right.
That's what it was.
See no one else come forward, entertain a motion to end the public hearing?
motion.
Motion made by Mr. Valori, seconded by Mr. Stanton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, at this time, entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Make a motion.
Motion made by Mr. Valori, seconded by Mr. Stanton. Roll call.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Mr. Paluso?
Yes.
Mr. Stanton?
Yes.
Mr. Valori?
Yes.
Mr. Karifi?
Yes. Good night, all.
So who's the surgeon? Me, I should know.